The solar system, the only habitable planet. In a high-rise residential building in Dahai City, a young man is lying on the desk with his phone in his arms. Lu Feng opened his heavy eyelids, suddenly slid from the chair to the floor, and his phone also dropped. He was startled at first, then subconsciously picked up the phone. A conspicuous time appeared before his eyes. June 1st, 2035. This is... Lu Feng was startled, hurriedly looked around, and realized that this was his home from 15 years ago. Could he have returned to 15 years ago? Swiping up on the phone after facial recognition unlocked it, a game interface appeared. The game had a starry sky as its background, and in the center there was a dock with a spaceship parked. Lu Feng's pupils contracted. Galaxy Era. It was a game of unknown origin set in the Milky Way, telling the story of interstellar ships during the great age of space exploration. At first no one paid attention to this game. Until one day all the ships in the game materialized into reality, and every player who owned a ship truly possessed a vessel capable of navigating space. Moreover, the quantity was one-tune, and the performance of the ships was not compromised at all. The ships in the game had whatever firepower, configuration, warp engines, power systems, and armor they possessed. The real spaceships had identical configurations. This caused the civilization of the solar system to leap almost overnight from being unable to carry out manned interstellar travel into the age of interstellar exploration. Those players who owned spaceships suddenly became hot commodities sought after by many nations. More scientists were envisioning the possibility of interstellar colonization of nearby habitable planets with so many ships at humanity's disposal. Even the exploration of extraterrestrial civilizations. But just as everything seemed to be thriving in the boundless darkness of the universe, a powerful civilization was watching. Those civilizations were shocked to discover that overnight a weak, low-level civilization had suddenly obtained a considerable number of warships far beyond its technological level. Those warships were objects even they coveted. Therefore, after a long period of probing, having confirmed that there was no higher-level civilization backing the solar system, an alliance of different civilizations invaded the solar system. Humanity managed to hold out for a while with those warships, but facing enemies dozens of times larger, they were eventually trapped and annihilated within the solar system. But when Lu Feng thought he was dead, he actually returned to 15 years ago. And at this time Galaxy Era had not yet begun its materialization. The materialization date is... Lu Feng suddenly pondered a crucial question. It's 1 month later. July 1st, 2035. He remembered this date very clearly. That is to say, Lu Feng swiftly opened the in-game store. Silent Behemoth-class aircraft carrier. Flawless Nebula-class star cruiser. Wandering Sanctuary-class battlecruiser. Dauntless Orca-class destroyer. Anti-gravity frigate. Sailfish-class shuttle. The dazzling store was filled with ships of all systems, integrated warships, attack warships, and engineering warships. Warships of the same system ranged from level 1 lowest to level 10 highest. But at this moment most of the ships in Lu Feng's store were grayed out. Because he lacked blueprints and his spending level was insufficient to unlock them. In Galaxy Era, players could freely build docks and warships moving between galaxies to conquer territories. However, everything inside was very expensive. A decent dock or ship cost hundreds, and truly top-tier warships cost tens of thousands. And these were just the price for a single ship. To form a decent fleet, investing millions was common. Although Lu Feng was not short of money, he was a self-made wealthy man. He had not developed the habit of spending lavishly and had not spent much money in Galaxy Era. Moreover, what attracted Lu Feng most about this game was its high autonomy and few restrictions. You could slowly hoard materials, explore the world to collect blueprints, build shipyards for corresponding warships, and use materials to gradually construct ships in the shipyard. What he enjoyed was this process of building from scratch. The few thousand yuan Lu Feng had spent in Galaxy Era mostly went to accelerating material collection and building shipyards. The ship in the dock on his phone screen was his first prototype. It was also the only warship he had built before his rebirth. Before a second ship could be finished in the dock, the materialization began soon ended, and not long after Galaxy Era vanished from everyone's sight. But now it was different. He had to build a fleet as fast as possible, producing as many ships as he could. Looking at the dock still upgrading with progress stuck at 3%, Lu Feng casually clicked Upgrade Now. Completing the dock upgrade immediately requires 189 star coins. Are you sure you want to spend 189 star coins to upgrade the dock? Glancing at the balance of over 300 star coins, Lu Feng firmly pressed yes. The dock upgrade progress soared, but when it reached 50%, the progress bar stalled again. Insufficient materials for subsequent dock upgrade. Required materials can be purchased directly, consuming 72 star coins. Do you wish to use star coins to buy the required materials? Without frowning, Lu Feng directly clicked yes. You have purchased mechanical arm 16, you have purchased transmission device 27, you have purchased production robot 34. Your dock has been upgraded to level 2. You can now produce level 2 warships in the dock. A new production line has been added, allowing simultaneous construction of 2 warships. After the upgrade, your dock base can now simultaneously maintain up to 20 warships of level 2 or below. It can dock up to 200 warships of level 2 or below. That means I can build 2 level 2 warships simultaneously. If I upgrade to a level X dock, one dock would have 10 production lines. Docks were also necessary supporting facilities, as having ships without logistical support would not do. But Lu Feng did not immediately click to build. His goal was not merely level 2 warships. He glanced at his current spending level. Having spent a few thousand yuan, his account's spending level was 4. Level 4, neither high nor low. But for him now it was far from sufficient. Without any hesitation, Lu Feng charged 100 yuan into the game, all converted into star coins for a total of 100 star coins. His spending level soared from 4 to 8. At the same time, the store unlocked the purchase permission for level 8 and below warships. 100,000 yuan only raised the spending level to 8. Then how much does it take to reach level X? Opening his mobile banking app, he checked his balance. The various cards combined had nearly 10 million yuan. I don't believe 10 million isn't enough. Lu Feng opened the game again, accessed the recharge interface, and entered the number 100. 10 million now, that should be enough. Congratulations. Your spending level has been raised to level X, the highest level. Excess funds will no longer be counted. You have unlocked level X warships in the store. Seems like 10 million was more than enough, even overflowing. Lu Feng opened the shop again. The store was filled with a dazzling array of starships, all now restored to their vibrant colors. The Tier 10 vessels at the very top had also become fully accessible to him. However, one final step remained before he could directly purchase a Tier 10 vessel. He needed the corresponding blueprint. Lu Feng opened the player trading hall. The player trading hall was a direct peer-to-peer marketplace where players could trade various items, blueprints, starships, docks, and materials. As long as someone was selling, anything could be bought. Lu Feng first scanned to see if anyone was offering Tier 10 ship blueprints. There were many items in the exchange, but most were low-level ships and materials. At first glance, no Tier 10 related items appeared. So he opened the filter and selected only Tier 10 vessels. Tier 10 Fearless Orca-class Destroyer Blueprint. The best destroyer, no equal. Only one available, first come first served, price negotiable, welcome whales. Cheapest Fearless Orca-class Destroyer Blueprint in the entire server. Without a blueprint you cannot buy a Tier 10 ship. Attention wealthy friends. He immediately spotted 2 sellers offering Tier 10 blueprints. The first was priced at 1100, the second at 15000. And these guys dare claim the cheapest in the entire server. Lu Feng directly clicked on the first blueprint and selected purchase. The Fearless Orca-class destroyer itself cost only 1000, making it the cheapest among all Tier 10 vessels. But its unlock requirements were too high. Many players could not reach the Tier 10 spending level. Thus, they had to slowly upgrade their docks, collect blueprints and materials to manufacture the Fearless Orca-class destroyer. Moreover, the drop rate for Tier 10 blueprints was not high, making the blueprint price over 10 times that of the ship itself. But for those whales willing to spend a Tier 10, such blueprint costs were nothing. After deducting 110 star coins, the Fearless Orca-class destroyer blueprint was in hand. Satisfied, he glanced at the cross-sectional diagram of the ship's structure, then checked if any other Tier 10 related items were in the exchange. But sadly, Tier 10 vessels were the absolute pinnacle of the galactic era, accessible only to a very few. Either they were players who had spent over a decade grinding achieving Tier 10 docks, or they were whales who had spent millions. Thus, the supporting market around Tier 10 vessels was not very large. Few merchants specialized in the Tier 10 ship business. Apart from these 2 merchants selling Fearless Orca-class destroyer blueprints, others mostly sold Tier 10 materials. It was rare to see completed Tier 10 ships for sale. Even when one occasionally appeared, the price was several times higher than in the game store. For Lu Feng, that was not cost-effective, so he stopped thinking about whether he could buy ships from the exchange. After purchasing the Fearless Orca-class destroyer blueprint, he also left a message for the seller. Bro, do you have blueprints for the Silent Beast-class carrier, Flawless Nebula-class cruiser, and Wandering Temple-class battlecruiser? If so, save one for me. Price negotiable. No reply came. Lu Feng was not in a hurry. He switched to the shop. Tier 10 vessel, the most versatile and best-performing destroyer, the Fearless Orca-class destroyer. Selling price 100 star coins per ship. Gazing at the streamlined, slender, elegant hull of the Fearless Orca-class, Lu Feng could not help but feel a surge of emotion. The Fearless Orca-class destroyer's performance was top-tier, even among the allied fleet that once invaded the solar system. Who would have thought that such a ship could now be bought for just 1,000 credits? Currently, the largest fleet in Galactic Era was the Star River Fleet. The Star River Fleet boasted a total scale of 10,000 ships. It was built by a super-rich second-generation enthusiast who loved sci-fi space battles and spent tens of millions. In that fleet, the number of Fearless Orca-class destroyers accounted for half, fully 5000 vessel. It was said that to achieve a stronger sense of immersion, that rich second generation even hired an entire team to act as a command system, renting them apartments and paying salaries as if it were a real fleet. All for the feeling of being a fleet commander-in-chief. And it was precisely thanks to those 50 fearless Orca-class destroyers that humanity managed to survive a long period by relying on the solar system's defensive perimeter not being crushed by the Allied forces' several times larger fleet. This was enough to prove the superiority of the fearless Orca-class destroyer. 1,000 credits a ship. If the generals of those civilizations saw this price, they'd probably go mad. Lu Feng recalled those beings who would invade an entire civilization just to seize powerful warships. With their nature, seeing the prices in the store today would drive them insane. You now own the Fearless Orca-class destroyer blueprint and can purchase the Fearless Orca-class destroyer. Submit purchase quantity. Lu Feng clicked on the Fearless Orca-class destroyer in the store. A prompt appeared before him asking him to. Lu Feng directly tapped the max button on the right side. In the next second, the quantity jumped to 9,999. Are you sure you want to purchase 9999 Fearless Orca-class destroyers? Confirmed. But after the purchase, the system popped up another prompt. You currently do not have a dock capable of berthing Tier 10 vessels. The 9999 Fearless Orca-class destroyers you purchased will temporarily be berthed in deep space. Please upgrade your dock as soon as possible if your ships remain berthed in deep space for a long time without effective maintenance, and supply there where will increase sharply. Once wear reaches the maximum, the ships will become scrap and cannot be repaired in the game. There was a wear mechanic. Although according to the setting, ships carried some engineering personnel for en route maintenance, such maintenance could not fully solve all upkeep tasks. Ships still had to periodically return to docks for proper maintenance. Moreover, the current time flow in the game far exceeded reality measured in years. A long time in game could easily be hundreds or thousands of years. After such a long period, ships without effective maintenance becoming scrap was only natural. Lu Feng's gaze returned to his own dock. Still docked inside was that Tier 1 vessel. But outside the dock, in the vast star region, against a background of scattered stars, densely packed slender ships were neatly stacked, overlapping each other. They looked like a giant star cluster, each twinkling star being a powerful warship. Looking closely, each Fearless Orca-class destroyer was a kilometer long. The hull carried dense armaments, hundreds of laser cannons, tracking missile arrays, and defensive laser point defense systems. There were also the most advanced shield generators and hyperdrive engines. Thinking that in 1 month the in-game ships would all appear in the real starry sky above his head, Lu Feng couldn't help clenching his fists, trembling slightly. These ships were all his. This was something he never dared to dream of before. The number of ships under your command has reached fleet level. Please organize your fleet into formations and name it. Just as Lu Feng was gazing in fascination at the warships belonging to him, the system prompted him. Formation. Lu Feng noticed a new option on the main interface. He entered it, and a list appeared before. The list showed his own docks and the ships belonging to each dock. 1 Tier 2 dock, with a Tier 1 ship, and 9999 Tier 10 ships not berthed in any dock. So he excluded the existing Tier 2 dock and that Tier 1 ship from the formation and grouped the 9999 Fearless Orca-class destroyers into a single fleet. After a moment's thought, Lu Feng slowly typed 2 characters into the name field: Inverse Blade. Compared to other Tier 10 ships, the Fearless Orca-class destroyer was the nimblest and fastest in performance and speed. A fleet composed of Fearless Orca-class destroyers would be an extremely sharp blade capable of carrying out special missions such as penetration, encirclement, and counter-encirclement. During the time he was besieged by the coalition forces, Lu Feng learned one thing above all: the form of space warfare was completely different from ground warfare. The vast cosmos with its added vertical dimensions made depth an even more important weapon than on the ground. And in such circumstances, the Fearless Orca-class destroyer was undoubtedly the unique T0 choice. The name Inverse Blade was well deserved. Having organized the rebel fleet, the most urgent task now was to upgrade the shipyard to level 10. Lu Feng had no idea exactly how much a level 10 shipyard would cost, but given the nature of this game, it would be impossible to build in a short time without $1 million. The money in Lu Feng's card had already been fully invested in purchasing warships, but he was not the least bit flustered. As a self-made tycoon, his assets far exceeded 10 million. The high-rise apartment he currently lived in, located at a certain sea view no. One in Dahai City, was worth over 75 million. To offload it quickly, he could sell it at a low price, netting at least 60 million. Beyond that, the larger portion of his wealth was the company he had built from scratch, a unicorn enterprise in the AI field called XAI. Since its launch, XAI's AI products had defeated those of numerous domestic internet giants and universities, claiming the top spot with absolute dominance. It was even dubbed the domestic version of Opal by busybodies. Compared to country as Opal, its valuation exceeded 70 billion yuan. It was truly a unicorn enterprise. Just a few months ago, this company, which countless people saw as promising, had gone public. Its market value skyrocketed past 100 billion yuan and was still rising. Lu Feng held 51 of the company's shares. With XAI's excellent momentum, he could easily sell them for over 50 billion yuan. Given more time, the shares Lu Feng held would undoubtedly fetch even more than that. By his estimate, surpassing 100 billion was not a small matter. But the problem was that he no longer had that luxury of time. 1 month was not very long. To be safe, he had to sell the shares now. Lu Feng opened his phone and notified the direct senior management group, then immediately headed to the company building. The building was not far from his home, and he arrived within minutes. As soon as he entered the company, before his car had even stopped, his secretary approached. President Lu, the senior executives are already waiting in the conference room. Lu Feng nodded, got out of the car, and headed straight for the conference room. Minutes later, as soon as he entered, he was surrounded by people. Someone asked excitedly, "Lu Feng, have you really decided to sell all your shares? Our company has only been listed for a few months, but we're still on the rise. Doing this could severely impact our development strategy. Lu Feng, we're all brothers who started this business with you. Now that we have a big enterprise, decisions must be made carefully, unlike in the old days when the company was small." Previously, Lu Feng had mentioned selling shares in the group chat, and the meeting was to formally inform them. He waved his hand, signaling them to calm down and not to worry. Selling the shares is certain at the current stock price. I'm informing you not only because you are the company's senior executives, but also because you are co-founders and shareholders. However, this is merely a notification. There's no need to persuade me otherwise. The purpose of today's meeting is to find a more suitable way to transfer the shares. With so many shares, we need to find the right buyer. I know that many of you are backed by various capital groups. These institutions have ample funds and can fully take over my shares. Therefore, what I want to say is this: contact your respective capital parties and see who is interested. Those interested can make an offer and will compete fairly based on the bids. Beyond that, I have only one requirement: the funds must be in my account within a week of the transaction. At this, the 2 rows of executives could no longer hold back their discussions, and the room instantly buzzed with excitement. Many of them, disregarding decorum, immediately pulled out their phones and made calls right in front of everyone. After all, XAI was a leading high-tech enterprise in the country with immense future potential. According to many institutions' estimates, XAI's future market value could easily surpass 100 billion, and even 1 trillion was possible. Therefore, among numerous investment institutions, XAI had the highest priority for investment. In the past, Lu Feng had deliberately controlled the scale of capital infusion from various parties to prevent a dilution of his control, ensuring that XAI, the empire he had built with his own hands, would not fall. Thus, many institutions had money but couldn't invest. Unexpectedly today, Lu Feng suddenly announced he would sell all his shares. Whoever obtained Lu Feng's shares would gain full control of XAI. In an instant, capital institutions across the high city and even the entire country were in an uproar. Everyone saw a golden opportunity to make a fortune in Lu Feng. On the top floor of the building next to XAI's headquarters, Dunan, a prominent figure in domestic investment circles, heard the news on his phone and couldn't help but burst into laughter. The internet economy has been sluggish in recent years, but the AI industry is booming. The most famous country as OPL is already valued at 100 billion. The future era undoubtedly belongs to AI. Lu Feng, I wanted to exchange more financing for shares before, but you refused. Now you're selling everything. At the thought, the smile on Dunan's lips was uncontrollable. But after laughing, his expression grew slightly serious. He did not doubt the authenticity of Lu Feng's intention. There were plenty of people like Lu Feng who cashed out after their company went public, and there were many cases involving larger sums than his. What worried him was not whether Lu Feng would sell, but the selling price. Although the AI boom was fierce and this investment would never be a loss, a lower price meant higher profits. More profit could be used to invest in more enterprises and make even more money. With this in mind, Dunan decided to personally call a few of his old rivals to discuss. Though they were competitors, they could cooperate on this matter. A preliminary discussion to control the bidding price and set an upper limit. Otherwise, if the bidding drove the price too high, it would be a lose-lose situation benefiting only Lu Feng. Thinking of this and the certainty of an AI-dominated future, Dunan couldn't help but shake his head in regret. Lu Feng, you're missing out on an era. This express train of the times will no longer have a seat for you. Lu Feng was unaware of the thoughts of behind-the-scenes magnates like Dunan. But even if he knew, he would probably just smile and say, "You're celebrating too early. When warships appear above humanity, the existing order will be completely disrupted, including the economic model. Many existing enterprises might survive, but they would no longer retain their original scale." So Lu Feng didn't care about his shares at all. Only by turning them into cash quickly would he benefit the most. Though handing over the company he built with his own hands made him somewhat reluctant. After all, it held years of sentiment. But the moment he thought of the warships from the mobile game that would appear above their heads in a month, his resolve immediately hardened. A partner with whom Lu Feng had a good relationship approached him and asked with concern, "A Feng, I don't know if something's happened to you. If you're in trouble, you can tell us the partners who've been through it all with you. We'll do our best to help. There's no need to go as far as selling all your shares. Though the business world is cruel, Lu Feng felt a warmth in his heart at the concern from his co-founding partner. He shook his head, opened the mobile game Galaxy Era on his phone, and said, though it may sound unbelievable. Before he could finish, the partner interrupted him, a look of astonishment on his face. The partner frowned, staring at the game interface on Lu Feng's phone. Feng, don't tell me you're selling your shares for this game. If you don't want to tell me the real reason, you don't have to fob me off like. Under the partner's astonished gaze, Lu Feng said nothing more calmly, closing the phone interface. He didn't utter a single word of what he had intended to say. This scene had long been anticipated by him. Even if he told everyone the truth, he would be dismissed as making excuses or even regarded as a madman. The partner, seeing Lu Feng put away his phone in silence, felt that he had exposed Lu Feng's excuse and thus gained the upper hand in momentum. This would better facilitate the persuasion that followed. He put on a look of grief and regret. Since you've made up your mind, I won't ask further. Feng, this company was built by us together, and we've nurtured it with emotion over the years. Neither of us would want an outsider to take control. Erase the thing. I can secure funding. 5 billion arriving within 2 days. As long as you say the word now, the cash will be in your account in 2 days. The company won't fall into outsider hands, and everything can stay as it was. Feng, if you wish, you can stay with the company even after selling your shares. You can go to any department you like. They'll arrange it for you. Lu Feng listened to every word, and when the partner finished, he interrupted. Let's talk about it tomorrow. He had already set the bidding date for tomorrow right in this very office. With that, Lu Feng turned and left, ignoring the partner's calls from behind. In the business world, there might indeed be sentiment, but even that shred of feeling becomes worthless in the face of. Meanwhile, in a top-tier riverside villa complex in Dahaishi, within a luxurious mansion boasting its own private dock, Wang was soaked in the pool, casually opening a game on his phone called Galaxy Era. On the main screen, a colossal 10-level dock vast as a small asteroid was packed with densely moored warships. Among them were aircraft carriers lurking in the shadows like behemoths, but their numbers were meager, only 10. There were also cruisers radiating light as dazzling as nebulae and battle cruisers bristling with firing ports. At the dock's outermost edge, destroyers gleamed like a myriad of stars. This was Wang Zhuo's pride and joy, his strongest fleet, the Star River Fleet. Having been enamored with sci-fi films and fantasies of space exploration since childhood, Wang Zhuo stumbled upon this realistic interstellar warship game and became hopelessly addicted. The game's realism lay in ship construction and combat. He had spent tens of millions to forge his ultimate 1 million for the 10-level dock, 1 million for 10 10-level aircraft carriers, 5 million for 500 cruisers, 9 million for 4,500 10-level battle cruisers, 5 million for 5,000 10-level destroyers. To fully simulate the feeling of commanding a fleet, he even recruited over a dozen top-tier players from among those who loved such games to help operate his colossal armada. These elite players were like branches extending from his trunk, obeying his commands and uniting over 10,000 warships into a cohesive whole. And he was the emperor at the center of this unity. Wang Zhuo reveled in this sensation. Every time he led his vast fleet out, he felt as if he were surveying the world from above. On the fleet-size leaderboard, he ranked first, and unquestionably so. The combined warship count of the 2nd through 10th place fleets didn't even match his, and their quality and crew configuration were inferior. But just as Wang Zhuo was lost in his fantasy of truly commanding a fleet across the stars, one of his destroyer group commanders sent him a message. Boss, there's a new fleet that's popped up. Wang Zhuo waved dismissively. Don't bother me with this. No one in the world invests more in fleets than I do. They might spend tens of millions on a sports car, but unless they're a space fanatic like me, they won't drop over 10 million on a little warship game. But someone really has spent. Wang Zhuo perked up instantly, sitting up in the water. He quickly switched the game interface to the fleet leaderboard. His Star River fleet was still number 1. But the 2nd place was no longer the American who originally had over 1,000 10-level warships. The Reverse Blade fleet. 9,999 10-level Fearless Orca-class destroyers. Wang Zhuo looked again, still domestic. Where did this guy come from? The domestic interstellar warship circle is small. Oh, I know everyone worth knowing, and none of them would invest this heavily. The game had no high-profile tournaments for rich kids to show off, nor the social systems of MMOs that drew crowds. To truly master the game, one needed considerable knowledge. Fleet-level battles were no different from real military campaigns, quite hardcore. This guy is probably some foolish rich kid, the kind who has to be number 1 in every game he plays. After a couple of days, he'll lose interest and regret blowing all that cash on a bunch of useless metal shells. Wang Zhuo sent this back to his subordinate. He had a nagging feeling that this guy was deliberately opposing him. His own fleet was just over 10,000 ships, all 10-level, so this guy bought 9,999 10-level ships to flaunt his deep pockets. No one understands this game better than me. Wang Zhuo thought confidently, considering whether to clash with this guy and teach him what a systematic command structure and combined arms warfare really meant. Buying 9999 of the cheapest 10-level ships, what was there to show off? Yet Wang Zhuo couldn't shake a vague unease. If he had the money, why not buy a few more 10-level ships? Adding just a dozen more would put him ahead on the leaderboard, and they were all cheap, fearless Orca-class destroyers. Given the nature of such foolish rich kids, they'd always go for the most expensive and best. Perhaps he was planning to buy more ships. After pondering, Wang Zhuo couldn't help but furrow his brow. If you've got the guts, throw 10,000 Silent Behemoth-class carriers in my face. I wouldn't lose unless carriers were rammed down my throat. After leaving the company, Lu Feng did not return home immediately. Instead, he went to the real estate agency outside his residential complex. As soon as he entered, someone recognized him. President Lu. Most residents of this compound were prominent figures. Naturally, the agency operating here was no ordinary one. They had thoroughly investigated the background information of every resident and distributed the files to all employees, instructing them to study it in their spare time. This was to prevent them from inadvertently offending an unassuming magnate, thereby courting disaster for the agency. Lu Feng stated his purpose directly. I want to sell a property at Seaview 1. The agency employee escorted Lu Feng into the VIP room. Before long, the agency manager also arrived. The manager, clad in a women's suit and exuding efficiency, gave a slight bow. President Lu, are you looking to sell the property under your name valued at 75 million? Lu Feng nodded and asked, how soon can it be sold? President Lu, your property is in an excellent location and easy to move. We will contact our client base immediately and expect a quick sale. Lu Feng shook his head gently. I don't need soon. Give me a specific time frame. The manager paused briefly, then quickly recovered, donning a professional smile. President Lu, this would be an urgent sale. The fastest we could manage is within a week, but the price would be slightly lower and might not meet your expectations. Price is not a concern. My only requirement is speed. Ideally, the transaction and payment completed on the same day. Understood. We will spare no effort to find you a quality buyer. The manager immediately summoned several staff members and instructed them to drop everything else and contact interested buyers. This attitude impressed Lu Feng. No delays, no formalities. They focused on practical service. The downside was the higher commission. But since Lu Feng was about to sell shares worth at least 5 billion, this sum was trivial. Converting his assets into cash quickly and securely was paramount. Just as Lu Feng was about to head home, an agency employee who had left earlier returned. He held up his phone. President Lu, a client is interested in your property and would like to view it. Do you have time to arrange that? Oh, so soon. Quite efficient. Satisfied, Lu Feng nodded. All right, I'll wait here. Tell them to come over and he'll show them the property. Great, great. The employee responded briefly on the phone, hung up, and left under the manager's gesture. Your clients are impressive. Lu Feng chatted casually with the manager to pass the time. The manager replied with a professional yet slightly proud smile. Thank you, President Lu. Lu Feng didn't wait long. The client seemed to live nearby, and soon a Maybach pulled up in front of the agency. A middle-aged man stepped out. He appeared to recognize Lu Feng, showing surprise before calling out, Brother Lu, and embracing him. Lu Feng vaguely remembered this man from a financial circle gala. Just a brief encounter. Brother Lu, I didn't expect you to be the seller. Since it's you, just name your price. If it's reasonable, I'll buy it immediately without even viewing the property. The middle-aged man was exceptionally straightforward, clearly trusting Lu Feng, and waved his hand grandly. Lu Feng found it rather puzzling. Though they had met once, their relationship was far from this intimate. But since the other party was so insistent, and with the warship's arrival just a month away, he wasn't worried about any hidden schemes. Any such schemes would have to get past his fleet first. Then I want stand on ceremony. Let's go with the market price of 75 million. Lu Feng stated his price directly. There was no point in refusing free money. The middle-aged man agreed without hesitation. After both parties submitted the necessary documents, the agency manager guided them through the process. The process took an entire day. By the time the city lights flickered to life and night fell, the funds finally arrived in Lu Feng's account. After deducting various fees, Lu Feng was exhilarated to see over 72 million yuan in his account. There was little worth taking from the sold property, so he packed up hastily and checked into a hotel. Once in his room, Lu Feng eagerly opened his phone and logged into Galactic Era. His first move was to transfer the entire 72 million plus from his card into the game, converting it into stellar coins. Stellar coins 72000000. With stellar coins in hand, Lu Feng turned his attention to the currently level 2 shipyard. Upgrade. Insufficient materials to upgrade. The level 2 shipyard materials required for this upgrade can be purchased directly, costing 300 stellar coins. Would you like to use stellar coins to buy the materials? Purchase. You have purchased mechanical arms 50, you have purchased transmission devices 120, you have purchased production robots 180. Your shipyard is being upgraded. Current progress 1. In the past, Lu Feng would have patiently waited for the progress to reach completion. But now there was no need to wait. He directly clicked upgrade now. Completing the shipyard upgrade immediately requires 500 stellar coins. Are you sure you want to spend 500 stellar coins to upgrade the shipyard? Lu Feng impatiently confirmed. After this confirmation, no further prompts appeared. The level 2 shipyard had been upgraded to level 3. Your shipyard has been upgraded to level 3. You can now produce level 3 warships in the shipyard. A new production line has been added, allowing the simultaneous construction of 3 warships. After the upgrade, your shipyard base can now simultaneously maintain up to 50 warships of level 2 or below. It can dock up to 500 warships of level 3 or below. Against the starry backdrop, the shipyard, which had only housed a single level 1 warship, expanded once more. Lu Feng let out a satisfied chuckle and continued selecting the shipyard, clicking to upgrade again. Your shipyard has been upgraded to level 4. Your shipyard has been upgraded to level V. Your shipyard has been upgraded to level 6. Your shipyard has been upgraded to level 7. Your shipyard has been upgraded to level 8. Your shipyard has been upgraded to level 9. After an unknown amount of time, as Lu Feng numbly pressed confirm, he realized he had reached the final step, upgrading from level 9 to level 10. This step alone cost him 300 stellar coins, just for the upgrade materials. You have purchased multi-joint movable mechanical arms 20000. You have purchased gravity magnetic dual mode switching transmission devices 4000. You have purchased modular multifunctional production robot 6000. Your shipyard is being upgraded. Current progress 1. At this point, Lu Feng felt an inexplicable surge of excitement. He slowly clicked the final step. Upgrade now. Completing the shipyard upgrade immediately requires 400 stellar coins. Are you sure you want to spend 400 stellar coins to upgrade the shipyard? 400,000 stellar coins. Adding the material costs, upgrading from level 9 to level 10 had cost 700 stellar coins. All previous upgrades combined didn't cost as much as this one. Though 400 stellar coins was no small sum, Lu Feng didn't regret it. After clicking confirm, the prompts that appeared lifted a weight from his heart. Your shipyard has been upgraded to level X. You can now produce level X warships in the shipyard. A new production line has been added, allowing the simultaneous construction of 10 warships. After the upgrade, your shipyard base can now simultaneously maintain up to 2,000 warships of level X or below. It can dock up to 20,000 warships of level X or below. At last, his reverse blade fleet had a place to dock. Lu Feng glanced at his star coin balance. 710,000 star coins remained. A single level 10 shipyard had cost 1 million. To Lu Feng, that was not much. He even thought it was rather cheap. He promptly ordered the entire reverse blade fleet, which had been anchored in deep space, to berth at the only level 10 shipyard under his command. The silvery white shipyard resembled a flat colossal island extending evenly in 10 directions with enormous structural arms. Each arm, like a pier, could accommodate warships for docking. The even vaster main body of the shipyard was densely covered with entrances and exits, some large and some small, designed for different types of vessels to enter and berth. Some openings were colossal enough to swallow an asteroid dozens of kilometers in diameter. One could imagine the immense size of the warships that would pass through them. As Lu Feng issued the command to berth the reverse blade fleet at the level 10 shipyard, one by one the silver-white, fearless killer whale-class destroyers converged like schools of fish toward the dock. Before the gigantic shipyard, each fearless killer whale-class destroyer was minuscule, like a speck of dust. Only when nearly 10,000 fearless killer whale-class destroyers gathered together could one see a Milky Way formed by the warships along the dock's edge. Just as Lu Feng was admiring this sight, he noticed a red blinking dot on his message panel. Someone had sent him a message. It was the merchant from whom he had previously bought the blueprint for the fearless killer whale-class destroyer in the player exchange. The message read, "Brother, blueprints for level 10 warships are extraordinarily hard to come by. I went through great trouble to get that fearless killer whale-class destroyer blueprint." Seeing this, Lu Feng keenly sensed that the fellow hadn't said he had no blueprints left. He was merely emphasizing how difficult they were to obtain. It seemed the merchant indeed still had other blueprints for level 10 warships. So Lu Feng replied, "If you still have any level 10 warship blueprints, name your price, as long as it's not unreasonably above the market value. I want haggle." On the other side, in a small county town over 1,000 kilometers away from Lu Feng, Su Jinxiang was staring at his phone screen, waiting for a reply. When he saw Lu Feng's response, his face lit up with joy. He had started with that remark specifically to push the price up a little. So he typed back, "Brother, I won't hide it from you. I still have a blueprint for a flawless Nebula-class cruiser, but..." He hesitated for a moment before continuing. He then sent a string of messages explaining the situation, but this blueprint was originally reserved by a foreigner. "I got this blueprint through sheer luck. It's one of those blueprints that are practically unavailable on the exchange with a heft. Based on my understanding of the market, a flawless Nebula-class cruiser blueprint is worth at least 1,500 with a premium of around 50-something thousand, and that's assuming it's even available." The foreigner who pre-ordered this blueprint was willing to pay 17000. But hey, race the thing, brother. I'd rather sell it to a fellow countryman than a foreigner since he hasn't paid yet. I'm not going to cheat you. The honest price is 16000. After sending this, Su Jinxiang anxiously awaited the other party's reply. Generally, the price of a blueprint is about 10 times that of the warship itself. A fearless killer whale-class destroyer costing 100 per ship would have a blueprint worth over 10000. A flawless Nebula-class cruiser costing 100 per ship should have a blueprint price of 10000. But level 10 warship blueprints are in short supply. Often once a flawless Nebula-class cruiser blueprint appears on the market, it gets snapped up immediately. Hence the price has soared to at least 15000. Such a price is just for a single blueprint. Now Su Jinxiang had added another 1000 on top of the 15000, which seemed much higher than the market rate. But in a situation where the blueprint is practically unavailable, this price is actually not unreasonable. If Lu Feng had posted a purchase request, he might have had to spend even more to buy a flawless Nebula-class cruiser blueprint. Lu Feng, however, didn't care about the extra 100 at all. That amount was nothing to him. He only felt fortunate that he had thought to ask if there were more level 10 warship blueprints. Otherwise, he would have missed out on this flawless Nebula-class cruiser blueprint. Who knows when the next one would appear in the player exchange. Alright, send the trade request. Lu Feng agreed readily. Immediately a trade request arrived. A blueprint depicting a colossal warship appeared before Lu Feng. Lu Feng input 1600 star coins to meet the trade condition. The next second the blueprint was in his hands. On the other side, Su Jinxiang stared at the additional 1600 star coins in his account. He was stunned for a long time. He wasn't a professional merchant, just a hardcore player. He had been playing this game. He was practically one of the first players to start this game. Having been fascinated by the stars since childhood, he fell in love with the game the moment he saw it. Unfortunately, his family wasn't wealthy, and he didn't have much money to spend on gaming. To advance in the game, he invested almost all his energy. Every day, he would grind for materials. He stubbornly worked until his shipyard reached level 10, then built a level 10 fearless killer whale-class destroyer. The effort he put into achieving this level 10 shipyard and the level 10 destroyer was truly arduous. God knows how many thousands of mechanical arms, transmission devices, and robots were needed to upgrade from a level 9 to a level 10 shipyard. God knows how many materials were required to build a single level 10 warship without buying them. He knew all this. His family said he was crazy, that he was addicted to the game and didn't know any better. But he knew that he simply wanted to fulfill his dream. Since he couldn't explore the stars in real life, he would do it, and it was precisely his relentless material grinding that gave him a chance to obtain level 10 warship blueprints. In that small county town, a family like his could only earn 60 to 70,000 yuan a year. Now these 1600 star coins mint 1600 yuan, over 2 years' income for his family. Together with the over 10,000 yuan from selling the fearless killer whale-class destroyer blueprint earlier. At last he could use this as proof that he wasn't wasting his time. His efforts had paid off. And with such a simple, honest mindset, he chose not to sell the blueprint to the foreigner who offered a higher price. He hadn't received much education, but he believed that fellow countrymen were ultimately more trustworthy. Just then Lu Feng sent him another message. What's the scale of your fleet now? Though Su Jinxiang found it a bit odd, he answered truthfully. 300 level 1 warships, 300 level 2, 200 level 3, 200 level 4. And 10 level 10 fearless killer whale-class destroyers. The moment Lu Feng saw the composition and quantity of this fleet, he guessed that this guy must have grinded his way up. The ships were such a motley mix. Though the composition was mixed, the numbers were not small. At least when the warships descended, they would gather into a considerable fighting force. He shouldn't be a nobody, Lu Feng thought. He didn't mean a nobody from the present, but from before his rebirth. So he asked again, what's your name? Let's get to know each other, maybe we can maintain a long-term trade. Su Jinxiang was startled at first, then quickly said, I'm not a professional merchant. I use all the materials I get myself, otherwise I wouldn't have enough. Those 2 blueprints, one I already have and the other I can't build yet. That's why I chose to sell them. After saying this, he felt it was a bit rude and replied, my name is Su Jinxiang. Getting to know each other is fine. Hearing this name, Lu Feng was stunned for a moment, then recalled the situation before his rebirth. After the warships descended, the initial owners were overjoyed, each becoming a lawless tyrant. They became the targets of courtship by every nation, which exhausted every means to attract them to join their side. Thus the warship owners enjoyed many privileges. During that time, everything on the ground became chaotic, everyone shaken by the sudden impact of the warship's appearance. It continued until the formation of the United Fleet. Several major fleets absorbed the medium and small ones, forming multiple united fleets, creating a situation of rival powers. And Su Jinxiang was the leader of one such united fleet. This united fleet consisted mostly of former commoners, small in scale and power, known as the Commoner faction. But it was this very faction that held the line alone when the alien civilization alliance invaded the solar system. They could be said to have fought until the very last moment, until every single ship was destroyed. No one became a surrenderist or a collaborator. They could be called humanity's final line of defense at that time. After a moment of silence, Lu Feng replied, "My name is Lu Feng. When you're free, come to the Great Sea City. I'll treat you to some fun." "Alright, thanks, boss." Su Jinxiang grinned. "This boss is surprisingly nice. By the way, could you tell me where you got all those blueprints? I'm willing to pay for that information. No need for money, consider it making a friend. Telling a friend a bit of news is no big deal." Su Jinxiang demurred. "Based on my years of experience, several star zones have higher drop rates for level 10 materials and blueprints than others." Then Su Jinxiang marked the locations of these star zones one by one and sent them to Lu Feng. Exploring planets, attacking military installations, destroying enemy fleets, and killing space behemoths in these zones can all drop blueprints. "Thanks." Lu Feng noted down the coordinates and transferred 50,000 star coins to Su Jinxiang. This information was gained through years of experience and thousands of attempts. 50,000 star coins was already a bargain. Su Jinxiang initially refused, but under Lu Feng's insistence, he accepted the trade. He thanked him repeatedly, insisting on treating Lu Feng to a meal. Lu Feng chuckled, not taking it to heart. After closing the chat window, he finally had time to focus on the blueprint for the immaculate Nebula-class star cruiser in his hands. The immaculate Nebula-class star cruiser was the strongest all-round warship. Warships in the Galaxy era could be divided into three categories: all-round warships, attack warships, and engineering warships. Among level 10 warships, the Silent Leviathan-class carrier, the Wandering Sanctuary-class battlecruiser, and the Dreadnought Killer Whale-class destroyer all belonged to the attack category. Only the immaculate Nebula-class star cruiser was an all-round warship. An all-round warship meant a single ship was a fortress, a super supply station, and an entire support legion. It had no shortcomings in firepower, supplies, or support. It could cruise for extended periods away from the dock, hence its name star cruiser. A single such warship was enough to intimidate an entire planet or even a star system. Store price 10,000 star coins per ship. You already possess the blueprint for the Immaculate Nebula-class star cruiser. You may purchase the Immaculate Nebula-class star cruiser. Submit purchase quantity. Lu Feng directly entered 5,000, buying 5,000 Immaculate Nebula-class star cruisers. "Are you sure you want to purchase 5,000 Immaculate Nebula-class star cruisers?" "Confirm." The next moment, 5,000 colossal, neatly arrayed warships appeared outside Lu Feng's dock. Each Immaculate Nebula-class star cruiser shimmered with a gorgeous nebula-like radiance. The sleek, flawless armor plates formed a seamless whole, without a single blemish. From a distance, they truly looked like immaculate nebulae, vast and magnificent. By Lu Feng's estimate, each Immaculate Nebula-class star cruiser was over 10 kilometers in length. That was more than 10 times the size of a Dreadnought Killer Whale-class destroyer. The completeness of its onboard systems far surpassed that of the destroyer. It was not only equipped with firepower like laser cannons, homing missile arrays, and point defense laser arrays, but also an exceptionally powerful shield generator. The shield it generated could not only envelop its own hull, but also include nearby ships. Additionally, it carried combat drones, transport ships, and medical vessels. Inside the ship, an arsenal, fighter production line, and everything else were fully equipped. One Immaculate Nebula-class star cruiser was a mobile space fortress. 5,000 perfectly aligned Immaculate Nebula-class star cruisers stood in the starry void, while nearly 10,000 Dreadnought Killer Whale-class destroyers formed a Milky Way, surrounding them as escorts. From afar, it looked like schools of fish swimming around whales. Even in the game, Lu Feng was utterly captivated by the sight. He could hardly imagine how magnificent the scene would be when these warships truly appeared in the real starry sky a month later. At that moment on the fleet leaderboard, the previously top-ranked River of Stars fleet had fallen to second place. Replacing it, the Reverse Blade fleet topped the list with 15,000 warships, 9,999 Dreadnought Killer Whale-class destroyers, 5,000 Immaculate Nebula-class star cruisers, and one Level 1 warship. Among so many Level 10 warships, a single Level 1 ship seemed quite ironic. That's exactly what Wang Zhuo, the boss of the previously top-ranked River of Stars fleet, thought. What a travesty. Although the rich second generation behind the Reverse Blade fleet hadn't slapped 10,000 Silent Leviathan-class carriers in his face, Wang Zhuo still felt his face stinging. 5,000 Immaculate Nebula-class star cruisers. That was 10 times what he owned. More than the Wandering Sanctuary-class battlecruisers he owned. As many as the Dreadnought Killer Whale-class destroyer. But a Dreadnought Killer Whale-class destroyer was a mere 1,000-coin destroyer, while an Immaculate Nebula-class star cruiser was a 10,000-coin cruiser. These were the big boys. Their combat power was in a completely different league from destroyers. If these 5,000 cruisers were thrown at him, he could be flattened without the other guy even needing to micromanage. What a travesty. Which rich brat doesn't know the value of money, and is just buying ships like crazy? He himself wouldn't be willing to spend 50 million just to buy 5,000 immaculate Nebula-class star cruisers. Most importantly, he could see that these 5,000 cruisers weren't even this guy's limit. Wang Zhuo felt that this profligate-rich kid intended to buy every type of level 10 warship. First the dreadnought killer whale-class destroyers, then the immaculate Nebula-class star cruisers. Next should be the wandering sanctuary-class battlecruisers and the silent Leviathan-class carriers. It was just that there were no blueprints available on the market, so the progress was this slow. Forget it. I'm not going to fight you for first place. Wang Zhuo calculated. Based on the number of ships this profligate rich kid had bought so far, when he eventually maxed out all 4 types of level 10 warships, the reverse blade fleet's numbers should reach between 20 and 30,000. Well, that's only 2 to 3 times mine. I can live with that. Wang Zhuo kept comforting himself. Although in terms of total assets he could afford it, he couldn't possibly sink all that money into a game. So he had to give up. Crazy. Absolutely insane. After purchasing the flawless Nebula-class star cruiser, Lu Feng admired it in the game for a long time before closing the game with satisfaction. Before closing the game, he also posted purchase orders for the wandering Temple-class battlecruiser and the Silent Beast-class carrier, offering 50,000 star coins and 2 million star coins respectively. They were now displayed in the most prominent spot of the player trading area. The prices he offered far exceeded the market value, all to secure the blueprints as soon as possible and avoid any unforeseen complications. He wondered how long it would take to get them. Putting down his phone, Lu Feng strolled to the window and gazed at the dazzling riverbank scene and the magnificent skyscrapers outside. The appearance of Su Jinxiang inevitably reminded him of some matters. Humans are truly diverse creatures. There are even beings like the Arrivalists. The Arrivalists are those who willingly submit to the alliance of alien civilizations, hoping they will soon descend to rule humanity. Because of their existence, they secretly engaged in sabotage, breaching humanity from within and causing the defeat of the major combined fleets. Otherwise, with the performance of the 10th level warships in Galaxy-era, humanity could have held out much longer. This was also why Lu Feng did not warn the nations. First, there was a 99.9 chance he would be taken for a madman. Second, it was because perhaps some nations could be trusted, but the people within those nations were not to be trusted. All Lu Feng could do was invest all his funds and expand his fleet. The key to expanding the fleet lay in tomorrow. Tomorrow his shares would be publicly auctioned. How much the shares worth over 5 billion could sell for would depend on tomorrow. The next morning, Lu Feng woke up early, washed up, and went to the hotel restaurant for breakfast. He scrolled through his phone while eating. In the miscellaneous section, he saw a news piece from a financial media outlet. According to undisclosed insider information, Lu Feng, the head of XAI, announced yesterday that he would sell his shares. It is reported that Lu Feng holds over 50 of XAI shares. Based on today's stock price, these shares are worth at least 5 billion yuan. Below there were quite a few comments. Another capitalist who cashes out as soon as his company goes public. I used to say that Lu Feng was a true entrepreneur with dreams, but I take back my words. He's just another Many people were cursing, and such comments had unusually high likes. The moment Lu Feng finished reading, he realized that this was likely news deliberately leaked by some capital institution. He opened the stock price app, selected XAI, and tapped to view. Sure enough, XAI's stock price was declining, and the drop coincided roughly with the release of that news. These bloodsuckers. Lu Feng couldn't help but sneer. So many petty tricks. These people controlling the capital institutions sat at the top of the social pyramid. They could scheme against each other for profit. Little did they know that soon, when the warships appeared above humanity, the immense wealth they possessed would instantly vanish into thin air. Those who once stood at the pyramid's apex would become no different from ordinary people. Lu Feng eagerly anticipated that day. Putting away his phone, he wolfed down his breakfast, hailed a taxi on the roadside, and rushed to the company. As soon as he entered the company gate, Lu Feng spotted a familiar figure. It was the middle-aged man who had bought his house yesterday. From their conversation yesterday, Lu Feng learned his name was Ling Xingfa, whom he addressed as Boss Ling. Seeing Boss Ling, Lu Feng couldn't help but stop. What? Is Boss Ling also interested in the bidding? Ling Xingfa saw Lu Feng, laughed heartily, and called him Brother Lu as he came over to hug him. I've been following Brother Lu for a long time, so naturally I'm interested. You didn't buy the house yesterday on purpose, did you? Lu Feng asked curiously. In fact, he didn't care who bought his house. But it was hard for him to imagine anyone being so well informed. If he thought too deeply about it, it was terrifying. No, it was just a coincidence. Ling Xingfa quickly waved his hand. To be honest, I was also surprised when I saw Brother Lu last night. Ling Xingfa's words were not false, Lu Feng could naturally tell. So he didn't dwell on the topic of buying the house. Instead, he turned to the main event of the day. No wonder Boss Ling was so generous last night. Could it be that you wanted to gain an edge in today's bidding? Lu Feng joked half seriously. Boss Ling waved his hand grandly. Haha, Brother Lu, what are you saying? Everything will be done fairly. Then of course I welcome Boss Ling. Let's go in together. Just like with the house, it didn't matter who bought his shares, as long as the money was in place. At this moment, the top floor meeting room of XAI was already packed with people. Apart from the company's top executives, there were also many representatives from the capital institutions behind them. These people from the capital institutions sat in clusters around their respective bosses, giving off a sense of As soon as Lu Feng entered, he noticed the bosses of these capital institutions, all well-known figures. With a faint smile on his lips, he took the central seat and spoke directly. Since everyone is here, let me state the only requirement for buying my shares: the full payment must reach the designated account within 1 week. He looked around. Any objections? No one spoke. Very well, then I declare the bidding begins. 45 billion. The moment Lu Feng finished speaking, a capital institution from Guangxing raised the price to 45 billion. No matter how much XAI stock price fell, it wouldn't drop that much. Lu Feng's shares were still very valuable. Everyone present knew that, so they skipped the low price bidding process. 46 billion. A capital institution from Dahai City called out a price. 47 billion. 48 billion. The first bidder from Guangxing raised the price again, and then shouted to the others, XAI stock price has already fallen this morning. At the price for Mr. Lu's shares, going higher would be a bad deal. Hearing this, Lu Feng gave a contemptuous smile. This capital institution had said it deliberately. Ostensibly, it was addressing the other institutions, but in reality, it was speaking to Lu Feng. It was also sending a signal. Sure enough, after the Guangxing institution's remark, no other capital institution bid for the next few minutes. These guys were each astute to an appalling degree. Lu Feng's public auction was nothing but a way to make the institutions compete and drive up the selling price of his shares. They could naturally see through this, so they certainly would not let Lu Feng have his way. Although XAI's prospects were excellent, that was only a prediction. What if the shares bought at a high price turned out to be a complete loss? The market has never lacked companies with huge potential that collapsed overnight. The once popular bike-sharing company OFO was a classic example. Without tangible benefits in hand, these institutions would not act rashly, so they had to force the price down. This turned the auction into a psychological battle. A psychological battle between Lu Feng and the capital institutions. It all came down to who would lose their nerve. Let's add another 50 million, said Du Nen, the owner of a long-established capital institution in Dahai City, breaking the minutes of silence. Mr. Lu requires the funds to arrive within a week. Selling shares under such conditions usually means a discount. Plus, with the decline in XAI stock price, our offer is already quite sincere. Du Nan's tone carried an air of confidence, even a sense of assured victory. Mr. Lu, do you agree to? If you agree, we can sign the contract on the spot, and the funds will be transferred within 5 days. Lu Feng merely glanced at him and remained silent. This price fell far short of his expectations. Every billion less meant thousands, or even tens of thousands fewer warships. In the future, the value of those warships would far exceed a single billion. He simply could not afford to miss any opportunity to secure more capital. Lu Feng did not speak, and neither did the heads of the capital institutions. Neither side was willing to yield. The atmosphere in the conference room instantly grew tense. Just then, a voice from the back of the room broke the stillness. 5.5 billion. The number made everyone in the room pause for a breath. Especially the heads of the capital institutions. 5.5 billion was the final bottom line they had agreed upon. Who was this, disregarding professional ethics, pushing the price straight to the limit? They had been on the verge of closing the deal at around 4.8 or 9 billion with a bit more pressure. Now someone was disrupting things. Everyone turned to see who had made the bid. Ling Xingfa sat at the end of the conference table, smiling genially at everyone present. Greetings, gentlemen. I am a businessman from Guangxing. I have just purchased a house in Dahai City and plan to settle here long term. He clasped his hands in a polite gesture. The capital institutions immediately broke into hushed discussions. Lu Feng noticed that an XAI executive was standing beside Ling Xingfa. Clearly, he had been following XAI for some time. Unexpectedly, this Mr. Ling was so interested in his company that he was willing to pay this price for shares. It was actually a great help to him. The moment this price was announced, the deadlock was broken. All the little tricks the capital institutions had employed earlier instantly lost their effect. If they truly wanted to acquire the XAI shares in his hands, they would have to get serious. Du Nen had lost his earlier composure, a hint of frustrated indignation showing on his face. Now he might have to spend several hundred million, or even over $1 billion more. He knew Ling Xingfa, a businessman who had made his fortune building factories in Guangxing. He wasn't part of the capital institution circle. Du Nen had initially paid him no attention, because aside from their kind of capital institutions, ordinary industrial companies could hardly come up with such a huge sum of cash at once. Unexpectedly, this Ling Xingfa had turned into an unexpected spoiler. I think Mr. Ling might be joking. He probably can't produce that much capital. Mr. Lu should verify that, I believe. Du Nan's words sounded like a joke, but his eyes were fixed sharply on Ling Xingfa. Ling Xingfa remained unruffled, still smiling. I certainly have the funds. As it happens, a few years ago, I invested in Xindu AI. After its listing, the stock multiplied several times, and I sold at the peak, making a tidy profit. I have great confidence in XAI now. Gentlemen, would you mind stepping aside? The only response was a cold snort from Du Nan. 5.6 billion. Ling Xingfa replied unhurriedly, 5.7 billion. 5.8 billion. Du Nan and Ling Xingfa were locked in a bidding war, and the conference room was thick with tension. But Lu Feng was delighted to see this. With each bid, they made another flower of joy bloomed in his heart. 1 billion meant he could buy an extra 100,000 fearless Orca-class destroyers. Even the Silent Behemoth-class aircraft carriers could be purchased 1,000 at a time. 5.9 billion. Ling Xingfa continued to raise the bid. Hearing the figure 5.9 billion, a nameless fury flickered in Du Nan's eyes. This price had far exceeded the market value of XAI's shares. Every extra billion meant an additional layer of risk. If XAI failed to reach new heights, his money would be completely lost. Then a thought struck him. Why was Lu Feng suddenly selling his own shares at this very moment? Could there be some undisclosed scandal within XAI, some ominous signs affecting the company's future? Was that why Lu Feng wanted to cash out and leave early? The notion took root in his mind like an ancient tree, making him waver. He glanced at Lu Feng, who sat motionless and silent, and wondered whether his calmness was merely an act. But aside from the faint twitching at the corner of Lu Feng's mouth, as if he were suppressing a laugh, he saw no trace of feigned composure. Finally, he made up his mind to bid one last time 6 billion. At that moment, apart from Ling Xingfa, all other capital institutions chose to wait and see. 6 billion seemed a promising price to secure the deal. If Ling Xingfa followed with another bid, he would back out. Fortunately, Ling Xingfa fell silent this time, merely clasping his hands to Du Nan in a gesture that spoke volumes. Du Nan then looked at Lu Feng, who nodded in approval. This allowed Du Nan to breathe a sigh of relief. Finally, it was over. He had paid a premium of 1 billion to acquire 51 of XAI's shares. Though the risk was considerable, the investment still held some value. Once he obtained control of XAI, his first order of business would be to investigate any hidden dangers within the company. As long as there were no major problems, the 1 billion premium could be recouped. Du Nan kept reassuring himself. I have to trust my judgment. The next era is bound to be the age of AI. XAI's market value will surely surge to hundreds of billions, even trillions. Today's 6 billion will become 60 billion, 600 billion. After the contract underwent dual checks by the legal department, and Lu Feng himself confirming no issues, Lu Feng and Du Nan signed their names on the document. The heavy weight in both their hearts lifted simultaneously. After signing, Du Nan even patted Lu Feng on the shoulder. Lu Feng, have you considered continuing to work for XAI? I'll offer you a good compensation. Lu Feng merely shook his head. No, I have my own things to do. His heart was ablaze with eagerness, burning to transfer the funds immediately into Galaxy Era to purchase warships. Hearing this, Du Nan frowned and spoke earnestly. Lu Feng, as someone with more experience, let me offer you some advice. The AI industry is likely the key to the next great technological leap. Don't miss out on an entire era. Lu Feng brushed off Du Nan's hand from his shoulder and said flatly that needn't trouble you, because he knew the key to the next technological leap, and he even knew the exact time it would happen. With the share transaction settled, just as Lu Feng was about to return to the hotel, Boss Ling stopped him. Brother Lu, I'd like to invite you to my home for a visit. My home is your home. No, I mean your former home. Boss Ling rubbed his hands together, looking as if he had been anticipating this for a long time. Lu Feng felt that Boss Ling's gaze was somewhat off, and being invited to his house sent a chill down his spine. He stepped back half a pace. Boss Ling, I've been quite busy lately. I don't have the time. Seeing Lu Feng's reaction, Boss Ling realized he had misunderstood something. He slapped his forehead and began to explain. Brother Lu, don't misunderstand. Actually, someone in my family is your fan and has always wanted to meet you, so. Lu Feng breathed a sigh of relief. As the head of a major corporation, his fame was considerable. Having fans was normal. If I have the time, I'll go. I'm a bit occupied these 2 days. We'll contact each other by phone then. After all, the man had done him a great favor, helping him secure an extra billion yuan. Meeting him wouldn't hurt. All right, we'll talk on the phone then. You're heading back, right? I saw you didn't drive here. Let my driver take you. Lu Feng didn't decline and rode with the middle-aged man in his Maybach back to the hotel. Upon returning to the hotel, Lu Feng opened his phone and logged into Galactic Era. Since last night, he had been exploring the coordinates Su Jinxiang had given him. He divided his fleet into 10 squadrons, each comprising 500 immaculate Nebula-class cruisers and 1,000 dreadnought Orca-class destroyers. Light Star Sector. As the most chaotic sector in the game, it was also the most perilous. The chaos stemmed from the countless space beasts lurking in its deep space. A seemingly ordinary asteroid could in the next moment morph into a gaping beast devouring passing ships. Yet with such high risk came substantial rewards. Deploying the fleet to explore the Light Star sector yielded bountiful materials each time, with a chance of obtaining blueprints, provided one could slay those fearsome space beasts. Typically, a single space beast required 100 ships of equivalent rank to kill. The higher the beast's grade, the more ships were needed. Without a solid foundation, hunting space beasts often led to losses. But for Lu Feng, none of this was a problem. Lu Feng had deployed a full 5 squadrons here, constantly roaming the light and star sector, launching saturation strikes against any space beast that emerged. Each squadron of 1,500 Tier 10 ships boasted such immense firepower that the space beasts were incinerated the moment they revealed themselves. You killed a Tier 7 space beast and obtained Mechanical Arm 14. You killed a Tier 8 space beast and obtained Tier 8 Ship Blueprint 1. You killed a Tier 10 space beast and obtained Tier 10 Ship Shield Generator Fragment 1. You killed a Tier 8 space beast and obtained Tier 8 Ship Armor 29. You killed a Tier 9 space beast and obtained Tier 9 Ship Cannon 1. These notification pop-ups had been non-stop since last night. However, the slain beasts were mostly Tier 7, Tier 8, and Tier 9, with Tier 10 space beasts appearing far less frequently. And blueprints for Tier 10 ships only dropped from Tier 10 space beasts. Just then a kill alert caught Lu Feng's attention. You killed the Tier 10 space beast Hilton and obtained a piece of audio containing information. It even has an. Previously, the dozen or so Tier 10 space beasts he had killed had no individual names, only the title Tier 10 space beast. This indicated that the slain Tier 10 space beast Hilton was quite special. Its kill reward was also extraordinary, a piece of audio. This was a reward never seen before, nor had he encountered anything similar elsewhere. Intrigued, Lu Feng rummaged through his warehouse and found the audio clip. Its icon was merely a wavy line. Upon clicking, its description appeared. A piece of audio containing information, but the audio is damaged. Collecting 3 such pieces can restore it to a complete audio. With the complete audio, one might locate the source of the transmission. Lu Feng pondered. 3 pieces of audio. It seemed the light and star sector should contain at least 2 more special beings like the Tier 10 space beast Hilton. I wonder if this audio is unique. If someone else had gotten ahead of him, it would be troublesome. With that thought, Lu Feng decided to move all his ships to the light and star sector to accelerate the sweep. He needed to find the remaining 2 special Tier 10 space beasts hiding in the light and star sector as soon as possible. As soon as the order was issued, the 5 squadrons far from the sector immediately turned around and sailed majestically toward it. As one colossal ship after another shimmered and entered hyperspace, the next moment a fleet stretching thousands of kilometers from bow to stern appeared in the light and star sector. Dreadnought Orca-class destroyers swam like fish around the immaculate Nebula-class cruisers, their azure exhaust trails painting a magnificent hue across the void. There were 9 more fleets like this. Each fleet swept through galaxy after galaxy one by one. The sweep lasted an entire day with 10 fleets slaying countless space beasts in the light and star sector. Lu Feng glanced at the warehouse filled with materials numbering in the thousands and estimated they had killed around 1,000 space beasts. Yet among that 1,000, not a single named special Tier 10 space beast appeared again. Whether it was due to luck or the special Tier 10 space beast sensing danger and actively avoiding them, Lu Feng failed to obtain a second piece of audio. However, Lu Feng reaped an unexpected windfall. A new blueprint appeared in the warehouse, the Wandering Sanctum-class battle cruiser blueprint. Reviewing the kill logs, Lu Feng discovered that a certain squadron had dropped this blueprint after killing a Tier 10 beast that afternoon. You killed a Tier 10 beast and obtained Tier 10 ship Wandering Sanctum-class battle cruiser blueprint 1. Lu Feng calculated that he had killed nearly 100 Tier 10 space beasts before obtaining this single drop. The drop rate was around 1, absurdly low. And this was after sweeping with 15,000 Tier 10 ships. For ordinary players, amassing so many Tier 10 ships to kill Tier 10 space beasts was nearly impossible. They could never match his efficiency. With the blueprint in hand, Lu Feng temporarily paused the sweep in the light and star sector and opened the store. At the top of the store, one of the 4 Tier 10 ships, the Wandering Sanctum-class battle cruiser, had been unlocked and was now available for purchase. Wandering Sanctum-class battle cruiser price, 200 star coins each. Lu Feng checked his star coin balance, over 20 million star coins. He clicked purchase. You possess the Wandering Sanctum-class battle cruiser blueprint. You may purchase the Wandering Sanctum-class battle cruiser. Enter purchase quantity, 10,000 ships. When 10,000 gray-black warships were arrayed outside the docks, the spectacle was truly magnificent. These were the Wandering Sanctum-class battle cruisers, each 5 kilometers in length. Compared to the Dreadnought Orca-class destroyers, their size was immeasurably greater. At the forefront of the battle cruiser, a series of rings linked by mechanical devices formed a colossal planetary cannon. The bore of the planetary cannon alone could accommodate an entire Dreadnought Orca-class destroyer. As a planetary weapon, its maximum power could directly pierce through a planet, reaching its core and triggering its disintegration. Furthermore, the Wandering Sanctum-class battlecruiser was equipped with 10 superorbital laser cannons and 40 orbital laser cannons. These orbital laser cannons were large-caliber weapons that the Dreadnought Orca-class destroyers lacked. They were densely distributed across the hull of the wandering Sanctum-class battlecruiser, oriented in all directions, above, below, left, right, front, and back, ready to unleash a massive saturation strike at any moment. In addition, the standard armaments, laser cannons, homing missile arrays, defensive laser point defense systems, and so forth, were installed on the wandering Sanctum-class battlecruiser in quantities over 10 times greater than those on the dreadnought Orca-class destroyer. It stood a tier above the immaculate Nebula-class cruiser. Although its volume was smaller than that of the immaculate Nebula-class cruiser, its firepower was undoubtedly the strongest. The wandering Sanctum-class battlecruiser was the ultimate weapon forged for war. Every configuration on the ship was tailored for these artillery batteries. After admiring the wandering Sanctum-class battlecruiser, Lu Feng suppressed the urge to board one and fire a salvo immediately. He incorporated the 10,000 wandering Sanctum-class battlecruisers into the reverse blade fleet stationed within the docks. With the addition of his existing 15,000 ships, Lu Feng now faced a problem. His sole level 10 dock was no longer sufficient. It seemed he would need to construct a second level 10 dock. However, his stellar coin balance was only a few hundred thousand, and a single level 10 dock cost $1 million. For now, he had to put it aside and wait until the $6 billion arrived before building it. Lu Feng didn't let these 10,000 wandering Sanctum-class battlecruisers remain idle. He immediately dispatched them to the Leiden Star sector, where they were integrated into the original 10 subfleets. Each of those 10 subfleets expanded to 2,500 ships, yet the overall scale of the fleet had more than doubled. Scattered across the starry void, they still formed a vast, unbroken formation stretching for thousands of kilometers. Boss, take a look at the fleet rankings. Wang Zhuo was staring blankly at the ceiling. Hearing his subordinate's call, he listlessly raised his phone. He glanced at the top-ranked reverse blade fleet on the leaderboard. Oh, another 10,000 wandering Sanctum-class battlecruisers added. A mere 20 million, a drop in the bucket for... Then he put down his phone. He continued staring vacantly at the ceiling. He felt like a middle-aged man who had suddenly lost all interest, slipping into a state of electronic impotence. Wang Zhuo no longer wanted to log into Galactic Era. Seeing him like this, his subordinate couldn't help but rush over and shout. Boss, don't be like this. Cheer up. Even if their final scale reaches 30,000 ships, it's not like we have no chance to catch up. I've calculated it. If we double the current scale of our River of Stars fleet and increase the number of aircraft carriers by another 500. As long as that nouveau riche kid doesn't know how to command, relying on the flexible advantages of carrier-based aircraft and the coordination of various ship types. With our command system and micromanagement, we can defeat their fleet of 30,000 ships. A glimmer of light returned to Wang Zhuo's eyes. Really? I'm certain. The subordinate nodded vigorously. I've received intel that the reverse blade fleet has been taken by that rich kid to the Leiden Star sector to sweep for cosmic beasts. Based on my observations, he only uses simple tactics like evenly distributing all ships among 10 subfleets, and then ordering a full assault. He probably doesn't have managers like you do, boss. It's likely just him operating such a massive fleet alone. With a fleet that size, it's hard for one person to execute precise maneuvers. That's where our opportunity lies. Wang Zhuo pondered. If that were true, he could indeed defeat the opponent's 30,000 ship fleet with his 20,000 ships. Victory against overwhelming odds. As for why they should fight, the game itself encouraged conflict between players. Direct battles, and even large-scale engagements between players were common occurrences. Why not fight a battle they could win? He didn't play the game just to let so many ships gather dust in the docks. Besides, ever since the Reverse Blade fleet overtook the River of Stars fleet to claim the top spot, he hadn't had a single good day's rest. He was still furious. After being the overlord for so many years, he had been surpassed in a short time by a suddenly appearing prodigal rich kid. Damn it all. Wang Zhuo decided he couldn't take it anymore. He did some calculations in his head. Doubling the current fleet size would require 10,000 level 10 ships. Among them, 500 Silent Behemoth-class aircraft carriers, plus 9,500 other level 10 ships of various types, would cost roughly 70 to 80 million. That would consume about a fifth or sixth of his total assets, and in cash. Withdrawing it all at once would be a bit strenuous. But he could get it from the old man. Wang Zhuo thought of his father, who had never liked him playing games. The old man had called him a spendthrift for investing 20 million in Galactic Era, and nearly kicked him out of the house. The old man was so wealthy it was time for him to cough up some gold coins. At 10 o'clock in the evening, when Lu Feng had swept through the last star system of the Leiden sector, he finally discovered a second, named Level 10 Cosmic Beast. This cosmic beast was unlike any other. Upon sighting Lu Feng's fleet, it immediately turned and fled. Previously, every cosmic beast he had encountered, no matter how weak, would actively attack any active fleet it saw. Without exception, it seemed to be their programmed behavior. But this beast, named Hilta, upon seeing Lu Feng's subfleet, didn't hesitate for a moment. Its pitch-black body, like a giant serpent, slithered towards the edge of the star system. A named NPC is indeed different. Lu Feng chuckled. The subfleet that had discovered Hilta continued its unhurried approach, completely unconcerned by Hilta's growing distance. In the distance, 9 other subfleets of equal size were approaching the star system from various directions, gradually forming a massive encirclement. This encirclement was steadily shrinking with Hilta at its center. At first Hilta didn't seem to notice, but soon it halted its movement and stopped in place. Its long serpentine body, vast and slender, was covered in golden eyeballs. Now all those golden eyes turned to gaze at the fleet surrounding it. It seemed to be awaiting the impending battle. Such human-like behavior made Lu Feng realize its intelligence was exceptionally high. His curiosity about the source of those audio clips grew even stronger. Once all 3 audio clips were gathered, the source could be pinpointed. What would that source be? As Lu Feng was lost in thought, the battle between the level 10 cosmic beast Hilta and the fleet had already begun. Hilta's combat power was far beyond that of an ordinary level 10 cosmic beast. By Lu Feng's estimate, it was at least equivalent to a cluster of 500 level 10 warships. But unfortunately, it had encountered Lu Feng. The encirclement formed by 25,000 level 10 warships was like a dense net. In an instant, 1,000,000 laser beams from within the net converged on the same target. In that instant, the brilliance generated was so intense, it even outshone the light of the star system's sun. After the white light faded, only some black residue remained at the focal point of the barrage. You have slain the level 10 cosmic beast Hilta and obtained an audio clip containing information. When all was settled, Lu Feng examined this audio clip in the warehouse. An audio clip containing information, yet it is damaged. Collecting 3 such clips can restore them into a complete audio, which may allow pinpointing the source of the audio. Its description is identical to that of the first audio clip. With 2 clips in hand, Lu Feng needed only the last one to restore the complete audio. Thus he could locate the audio source. But where was the last special 10th level giant beast? Keep in mind that his 10 subfleets had already swept through dozens of star systems within the Litten sector. Only 2 special 10th level giant beasts had been discovered. That left only 2 possibilities. One, the third special 10th level giant beast was still hiding within the Litten sector. The second, it had already fled to another sector. Considering both possibilities, Lu Feng split his 5,000 fearless Orca-class destroyers and 5,000 wandering sanctuary-class battlecruisers into 100 small-scale fleets. Each small-scale fleet consisted of 50 fearless Orca-class destroyers and 50 wandering sanctuary-class battlecruisers. With such fleet composition, they continued patrolling the Litten sector, searching for the third special cosmic beast that might be hiding there. Lu Feng deployed the remaining 15,000 warships to the second target, the Labarco dump. The Labarco dump was not far from the Litten sector and was another coordinate provided by Su Jinxiang. This place was piled with all kinds of garbage, warship wrecks, abandoned rockets, mangled corpses, everything imaginable, making it a true public dump. Exploring among the trash might yield unexpected discoveries, such as some blueprints. The Labarco dump was quite desolate compared to the Litten sector. In the Litten sector, Lu Feng would occasionally see others farming cosmic beasts. But at the Labarco dump, it was nearly uninhabited. Few people knew that rummaging through trash could also yield. Moreover, even if someone knew, the efficiency of scavenging here was too low, far inferior to hunting cosmic beasts. As a result, within this vast area, countless mounds of garbage lay in the darkness untouched. Few people meant Lu Feng could have it all to himself. Gazing at the screen full of garbage and the destroyable prompt that popped up, he was overjoyed. He loved fireworks displays like this. He maneuvered the 15,000 10th level warships and directly ordered them to engage the endless dump. Each ship launched saturation firepower at the nearest garbage pile. Beams of laser light flashed across the once dark dump, making an onlooker think it was a battle between 2 large fleets. Though the Labarco dump was vast and filled with trash, Lu Feng's 15,000 warships were no pushovers. The large number of ships and their formidable capabilities ensured the fleet's advance was not slow at all. Those garbage piles that would be tough nuts for ordinary players were nothing more than a single volley for a wandering sanctuary-class battlecruiser. If one volley wasn't enough, then a second. There was nothing that cannons couldn't solve. Such was the thought of Lu Feng, a devout follower of the Church of Truth canon. But just as the boundless darkness of the Labarco dump was gradually consumed by the light of artillery, a giant beast was awakened deep within the dump. It leaped out from a garbage pile still shrouded in darkness and charged toward the light at the edge of its vision. The beast's body was as large as half the moon, resembling an alien monster covered in countless tentacles with golden eyes scattered all over its body. Its enormous body, over 1,000 kilometers long, smashed through the garbage piles in its way, carving out a 100-kilometer wide gap. With irresistible momentum, the giant beast reached the outskirts of the Labarco dump, facing the fleet that was clearing the trash. It charged straight at an immaculate Nebula-class starcruiser, biting through its shields and then directly crushing half the ship into fragments. But the fleet was no pushover either. The moment the beast was spotted, Lu Feng reacted, instantly maneuvering all ships to converge on the beast's location while concentrating fire on it. The nearest few hundred wandering Sanctuary-class battlecruisers simultaneously activated their forward plan. After charging, hundreds of thick beams shot from the planet cannons, striking the beast's body and obliterating nearly half of its tentacles and golden eyes. The beast roared in pain, writhing in the aftermath of the planet cannon blasts, seemingly terrified. But around it, more and more warships joined the fray, volley after volley of planet cannon fire hammering its body. One by one, its tentacles were severed. The flashes of laser cannons and orbital laser cannons never ceased. Soon the beast fell silent, its massive mangled corpse drifting across 1,000 kilometers of space. The charred marks on the corpse showed that it had provoked an adversary it shouldn't have. You have slain the 10th level cosmic beast Hilder and obtained an audio clip containing information. You have collected 3 audio clips containing information and can restore them into a complete audio. Repair. The 2 consecutive messages thrilled Lu Feng. This beast was indeed the third named special 10th level cosmic beast. Now all 3 audio clips were collected. He immediately clicked repair. The next moment, the 3 audio clips in his warehouse vanished, replaced by complete audio. Lu Feng could not wait to open it, eager to hear what information the complete audio contained and where it came from. As he operated, the interface of Galaxy Era was replaced by a line of constantly fluctuating waves. A sound gradually emerged in Lu Feng's ears along with the undulating lines. It was an eerie sound whose vast and desolate background made one involuntarily shudder, sending chills from the depths of the heart. It felt as if one were in the deep ocean, hearing a whale's high-pitched cry that humans should not be able to hear, a fear and sense of inaccessibility rising from the soul. This audio seemed to have been emitted by some creature in the universe, and then presumably received by those 3 special 10th level cosmic beasts. Was this another special 10th level cosmic beast? Or perhaps the birthplace of cosmic beasts? Curiosity growing, Lu Feng clicked the locate button that appeared only after listening to the audio. Then a coordinate appeared before Lu Feng. The region indicated by this coordinate was far from the player activity area, almost on the edge of the map. There the vast silent dark space dominated with only an occasional star radiating heat and light. And there something existed. Lu Feng did not rush to have the fleet jump collectively to that coordinate. He felt that whatever that thing was, it would not be as easy to deal with as the 3 10th level cosmic beasts Hilton Tower, and Hilton. Although the game, Galaxy Era, does not have the typical quests found in traditional games, players can collect all sorts of strange and unusual items within it. These items often conceal a hidden storyline. Following the storyline can unravel many behind-the-scenes aspects that are not shown to most players. These hidden aspects often grant players exclusive benefits. It is said that a few years ago a player's ship accidentally entered a black hole and survived. Inside the black hole, he discovered the remains of a civilization. The ruins still contained the wreckage of many warships. Among the debris, the player found an intact warship. By surviving inside the black hole, he activated and controlled that pristine ancient warship. That ancient warship possessed an extremely unique ability. It could render all ships within a certain range completely unobservable. Unobservable means undetectable by any medium. Optical observation, acoustic echo detection, hyperspace detection, gravitational detection. None of these methods could locate that warship. In other words, it entered a state of true invisibility. After the player emerged from the black hole with that warship, an alliance dispatched a coalition of tens of thousands of ships to explore the black hole again. But not a single ship made it through. All became part of the black hole. Therefore, Lu Feng could not approach recklessly with a delusional or arrogant mindset. He needed to prepare thoroughly first. Moreover, there was no rush. He was the only player who had collected all 3 audio fragments and the first to know these coordinates. There was no need to hurry over. In a few days, the 6 billion in funds would arrive. No need to rush for a few days. With these thoughts, Lu Feng selected the few warships damaged in battle and sent them to the dock for repairs. The rest continued scavenging through the garbage at the Labark scrapyard. Moreover, Lu Feng reassigned the 10,000 warships from the Lardun sector to the Labark scrapyard for scavenging. After doing all this, he turned off his phone, lay down on the bed, and fell into a deep sleep. The next day, a full 25,000 warships spent the entire day clearing garbage at the Labark scrapyard. You destroyed a garbage pile 7, obtaining garbage 32. You destroyed a garbage pile 6, obtaining garbage 54, Tier 3 warship jump engine 1. You destroyed a garbage pile 9, obtaining garbage 71, Tier 6 warship blueprint 1. Scavenging garbage rarely yielded results comparable to killing cosmic beasts. Most of the time what you got from garbage was just more garbage. The less garbage there was, the more garbage you got. As Lu Feng pondered this, he disposed of all the garbage in his warehouse. He had to clean it out every hour or two, or the warehouse would overflow. He spent the day checking his phone from time to see if anything good turned up, occasionally clearing out the garbage. Late that night, Lu Feng tallied the day's gains. Although the drop rate from scavenging garbage was 10 times lower than from killing cosmic beasts, Lu Feng's fleet had scavenged such an enormous amount of garbage that the sheer volume compensated. He acquired a large quantity of materials and blueprints below Tier 9, and even a blueprint for the fearless Orca-class destroyer. The harvest was decent, but none of it was what Lu Feng truly needed. Looking at the scrapyard, which still had over half its garbage piles, Lu Feng could only hope for something better later. But on the third day and the fourth, even after the entire fleet had combed through every pile, there was no sign of the expected reward. Instead, Lu Feng's warehouse became stuffed to the brim with various materials. The Labark scrapyard could no longer be called a scrapyard. The star region, once filled with space debris, had been completely restored to the dark depths of space. Under the relentless bombardment of 25,000 warships over just 3 days, countless garbage piles were entirely cleared. What remained were scattered fragments of little value. There was nothing left here to attract Lu Feng. He had to set his sights elsewhere. Just then a text message interrupted. The message was from someone at a capital institution. The 6 billion in funds had already been deposited into 6 accounts under his name as requested. Boss, the funds are in. A subordinate excitedly stared at the extra 80 million star coins on the account, then turned to Wang Zhua and shouted. Wang Zhua showed no surprise at this expected news. He waved dismissively, implying it was nothing. If that old man weren't so strict, I'd show you. Not just 80 million, I'd charge 800 million. After saying this, Wang Zhua felt a pang of guilt. He wouldn't really spend 800 million. It was just a game. Not worth 800 million. Wang Zhua didn't dwell on the matter. He was used to putting on a front in front of his subordinates. Now he just wanted to expand the fleet immediately. Then go find that damn rich second-generation guy and fight a battle. Even if he only won once, he'd be satisfied being second on the warship leaderboard. He would be the strongest second place. The true number 1 in hard power. Staring at the extra 80 million in his account, Wang Zhua moved his fingers and purchased 500 Silent Beast-class aircraft carriers, 2,000 impeccable Nebula-class cruisers, 2,500 Wandering Sanctum-class battlecruisers, 5,000 fearless Orca-class destroyers. He bought them with lightning speed. As long as he bought fast enough, the pain of spending money couldn't catch up. A minute later, the fleet on his phone screen had undergone a massive transformation. A full 10,000 additional warships were lined up outside the dock. The entire Galaxy fleet had doubled in size, and its elite quality far surpassed that of the previous 10,000 ships. Those 500 Silent Beast-class aircraft carriers were the absolute game-changers. He was confident that under his command the new fleet would be 2 or 3 times as effective as before. He could definitely crush that damn rich second-generation guy into the dust. Away, is that guy still at the Labark script? Yes, boss. Good, have everyone take their positions and command their respective sections. Wang Zhua watched on the screen as the fleet surged out of the dock like a school of fish heading to sea, assembling in the starry space beside the dock. The most powerful fleet in the history of Galaxy era was about to embark on an expedition. Its supreme commander would achieve the most glorious victory of his life today. At the thought, his heart swelled with pride. Galaxy fleet set out. Target Labark scrapyard. We will make everyone understand a truth. Money is not omnipotent. At the Labarco scrapyard, the Reverse Blade fleet, which was about to wrap up for the day and head to their next target, had gathered in a sector of space. Just as Lu Feng was inputting the jump coordinates, countless warp glimmers materialized around the assembled fleet. One after another, colossal warships slowly emerged as the light faded. The first to appear were the fleets of dauntless Killer Whale-class destroyers, followed by the even larger Wandering Temple-class battlecruisers and the flawless Nebula-class cruisers. Finally, there were Leviathan-like ships surrounded by squadrons of carrier-based aircraft. These were the Silent Beast-class aircraft carriers. Upon closer inspection, these sudden visitors were all 10th-tier warships, identical in composition to his own fleet, except they also possessed the Silent Beast-class carriers, which he currently lacked. All ships appeared in clusters, each centered around a 30-kilometer-long Silent Beast-class carrier. Distributed evenly around each carrier were 10 flawless Nebula-class cruisers. Each flawless Nebula-class cruiser in turn carried several Wandering Temple-class battlecruisers and dauntless Killer Whale-class destroyers under its protective umbrella. This formation resembled an onion ring, layer upon layer, forming a defensive perimeter. There were approximately 500 such clusters across the entire battlefield. The clusters stood at intervals, and despite being outnumbered by the Reverse Blade fleet, they managed to encircle Lu Feng's forces. At first glance, it looked highly professional. Those familiar with the game era of the Galaxy would know that achieving such precision could not be the work of a single person or player. Lu Feng froze for a moment at the obviously hostile fleet clusters, then quickly recovered. Glancing at the suddenly surging fleet count of the Milky Way fleet on the leaderboard, now at 20,000 ships, he smiled knowingly. They really are getting cocky. Those surrounded Lu Feng remained unruffled and canceled his planned warp operation. He even watched the clusters with keen interest, as if they were ready to do battle. Rumor had it that this guy had spent a fortune hiring a command team. Was this the result of their refined micromanagement? The tightly arrayed fleet clusters were not numerically superior when facing a large fleet individually. But when hundreds of such clusters entered the battlefield, their effect was far beyond what a rigid alphabetical volley formation could achieve. It was not a bad tactical approach. As he mused, a message popped up on the game interface. Milky Way Fleet Commander of the Reverse Blade Fleet, as the two strongest players in the galaxy, a duel between us is inevitable. Come, let us see who is the true overlord of these stars. Seeing this, Lu Feng couldn't help but snicker. How old was this guy still talking like that? Still, it was courteous to announce before attacking. In return, send a little gift. Lu Feng lightly tapped the recharge button, then swiftly entered a number. After double-checking the number of zeros, he confirmed the payment. In the next instant, his Starbucks skyrocketed. 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. Like an old-fashioned counter, the digits spun wide. In the rapid rotation, the number kept entering the next digit level, dragging the subsequent digits, 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million. The higher the digit, the faster the spin. Finally, the number slowed to a halt at the 100 million level, landing on 3. The remaining digits, all except for a few 100,000 leftovers. In just 10 seconds, Lu Feng's Starbucks balance reached 3 billion. He glanced at it, then without hesitation opened the shop. His eyes immediately fell on the 4 Tier 10 warships at the top. Hope this little gift won't scare you, he murmured. Though I can't manage such fine control, I do know one thing. When poor, you rely on tactics. When rich, you just swarm everything together. He clicked on the 3 types of ships that were available. You possess the blueprint for Dauntless Killer Whale-class destroyers. You may purchase Dauntless Killer Whale-class destroyers. Enter purchase quantity, 100. You possess the blueprint for Wandering Temple-class battlecruisers. You may purchase Wandering Temple-class battlecruisers. Enter purchase quantity, 500. You possess the blueprint for Flawless Nebula-class cruisers. You may purchase Flawless Nebula-class cruisers. Enter purchase quantity, 100. You have ordered too many ships. Are you sure you want to purchase? Confirm. In the next moment, instead of the expected fleet, the game froze for a while. The screen remained motionless for over 10 seconds before recovering. Insufficient dock, insufficient dock, insufficient dock, insufficient dock, insufficient dock, insufficient dock. Error messages flooded the interface. Lu Feng ignored them entirely, focusing instead on the star. He was stunned for a long time by what he saw in the starry sky. Finally, he breathed out 2 words, holy crap. At that moment, the sky could no longer be called a sky. It was packed with countless overlapping warships, so numerous they looked like mere dots, yet each ship was still neatly arranged in orderly rows. Vast without chaos, the endless ships stretched beyond sight. No matter which direction he looked, there was always another row stacked. 1,000,000 warships stood silently in the starry void like soldiers awaiting a general's inspection. Their silver and gray-black hulls exuded a killing aura. It could already be called a sea of warships. Even Lu Feng, who had seen grand spectacles, couldn't help but feel his heart race. Just looking at it was awe-inspiring. Hard to imagine what a 1,000,000-strong fleet would look like directly over. Lu Feng slowly issued the command to all 1,000,000 ships warp to Lebarco scrapyard. Why isn't he replying to me? Shouldn't he say, this is our fated duel? If I'm the only one talking, it makes me look so cringy. Wang Zhuo stared at his phone waiting, but there was no message from the guy. Boss, take a look at the leaderboard. At that moment, his subordinate, a Weiss voice came through, strained like he was constipated. A mix of disbelief, is my eyesight wrong? Is the world gone mad? Is it a bug? And other emotions. Wang Zhuo instinctively opened the leaderboard. The next moment, his gaze froze. This. His voice also turned constipated. This. How many? He leaned closer to his phone, hoping to see the numbers more clearly. 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million. When he finally counted, he and Ah Wei fell into endless silence. At the same time, a line popped into their minds: money can't buy everything. That's only because you haven't spent enough. Beyond the two confronting fleets, the dark void slowly began to mutate. The tranquil space twisted, gradually rippling in continuous waves across the observable realm. This phenomenon occurred only when an excessive number of objects simultaneously jumped from hyperspace into the same region, a detail the game rendered with striking realism. The ripples spanned an area of approximately 0.1 light-years, the entire region teeming with anomalies and unrest. Behind those ripples, a fleet stretching beyond sight, as if carpeting the cosmos, gradually materialized. Millions of warships jumped into the Lebarco scrapyard simultaneously. An operation of this magnitude was so immense that even players active several light-years away sensed the anomaly. Some players engaged in routine fleet missions noticed the distant stars abruptly warping before others attempting hyperspace jumps in the vicinity were astonished to find themselves unable to initiate the game repeatedly flashed jump failed notifications. Meanwhile, some players spotted an exceptionally conspicuous number on the fleet leaderboard. 1625000. The total warship count had reached the millions, a figure that might surpass every vessel combined in the entire game of Galactic Era. Quick-witted players immediately linked this ship count to the anomalies near the Lebarco scrapyard. What's happening at the Lebarco scrapyard? The Reverse Blade fleet was sweeping the scrapyard for 3 days, and now their numbers have exploded. How much did that cost? The Star River fleet also moved in, and they doubled their size. Hilarious doubled. The Reverse Blade fleet multiplied 80-fold. The Galactic Era World Channel instantly became a torrent of discussions about the Lebarco scrapyard and the Reverse Blade fleet. Wang Zhuo rotated the game view 360 degrees, but in every direction, he saw only endless warships. His 500 ship clusters sat at the heart of an encirclement of infinite vessels. This was a true encirclement, impenetrable without a single gap. Surrounded by such a multitude, he felt a profound sense of powerlessness and insignificance. Those 500 ship clusters were like a lone leaf adrift in the vast ocean of 1,000,000 warships carried by the current, incapable of stirring even the faintest ripple. Any slight move by the 1,000,000 warships could capsize his tiny boat. It was like facing the dazzling stars while he was but a feeble firefly. Insane. Insane. Utterly insane. Wang Zhuo stared blankly at the 1,000,000 warships on his screen, seized by a powerful urge to find the person who had just dumped such a fortune into the game and ask if he had lost his mind. He now understood why that person hadn't replied. Damn it, he had been busy recharging. As his thoughts churned, the 1,000,000 warships began to move. The first laser fired, marking the opening salvo. The next moment, the screen was flooded with lasers and beams, obliterating the sight of the 1,000,000 warships themselves. Seconds later, when the lasers and beams dissipated, not a single one of his own ships remained visible. The 500 ship clusters had been annihilated in the first volley. They hadn't even mounted the slightest resistance. Inside Wang Zhuo's luxurious mansion, silence reigned, broken only by the roar of the Huang River outside. His subordinates, those in the command structure, hadn't even had time to act before being wiped out in the initial clash. The so-called tactical command was a joke in the face of a qualitative shift in warship numbers. Silence and defeat weighed heavy on every heart. Wang Zhuo silently opened the dock list, staring at the grayed-out warships marked heavily damaged, awaiting repair. 20,000 ships, all in the same state without exception. He exited Galactic Era, fixing his gaze on the game's icon on his phone, a warship soaring toward him. He stared for a long time. Finally, without a word, he deleted the icon. I hope you like this gift. Lu Feng chuckled with a hint of mischief. As for Wang Zhuo, he neither particularly liked nor disliked him. Wang Zhuo was just a naive rich kid who loved sci-fi starscapes and warships, so naive that he trusted his hired subordinates unconditionally. Even after the warships descended, he delegated power to his underlings, oblivious that some of them were already surrenderists or dissentists. This had led to the total annihilation of the main fleet defending the solar system at Jupiter's defense perimeter due to internal rebellion, a lamentable fate. But Lu Feng didn't have Wang Zhuo's subordinates, so he had no such concerns. He possessed nothing but money. Now, with a 1,000,000-strong fleet arrayed at the Lebarco scrapyard, his gaze held nothing but satisfaction. He eagerly anticipated the day when the warships would descend. What a sight it would be when this magnificent 1,000,000-ship fleet appeared in the solar system. He also noticed the world channel buzzing with talk about his 1,000,000-ship armada. After the Star River fleet was destroyed in the first strike, news of the battle at the Lebarco scrapyard spread. It seemed an insider from the Star River fleet had leaked details which circulated through the Galactic Era community. The Star River fleet attempted to ambush the Reverse Blade fleet with 20,000 ships against 25,000, but the Reverse Blade fleet furiously recharged for 1,000,000 warships, annihilating the Star River fleet's 20,000 in a single concentrated volley. This summary spread instantly to all online players. Someone even compiled an all-time greatest battle ranking for Galactic Era. The Battle of the Lebarco scrapyard ranked first. Curious minds calculated that even if the 1,000,000 ships were all the cheapest level 10 Dreadnought killer-class destroyers, it would cost nearly $2 billion. Someone capable of such cash flow couldn't be a nobody. Many speculated about the identity of the 1,000,000 fleet owner. Names of domestic tycoons were constantly mentioned in the World Channel, with discussions on who might be the Reverse Blade fleet's owner. Lu Feng even saw his own name among them. This didn't surprise Lu Feng. In fact, he didn't care. Even if recognized, he would still pour all his funds into Galactic Era. It might spark curiosity and attention, even investigations. But in just over 20 days, the warships would descend. When that day came, all old orders would be irrelevant to him. Everything people did now was futile. Time to go home. Lu Feng swiped across his phone screen, scrolling for a long while before selecting all the warships. He set the target as the dockyard and initiated a collective jump. As the view shifted back to the dockyard, prompts reading insufficient, dockyard flooded in incessantly. Of the million-strong fleet, only a meager 20,000 ships could return to the dockyard. The remaining warships stood in orderly ranks in the starfield outside the dockyard. Though the sight was magnificent, it was hardly a sustainable situation. Lu Feng's head began to ache. Calculating based on a Tier 10 dockyard accommodating 20,000 warships, he would need at least 80 Tier 10 dockyards. That meant 80 million. The cost wasn't exorbitant, but acquiring these dockyards wasn't as simple as a click-to purchase. Recalling his previous experience upgrading to a Tier 10 dockyard, Lu Feng felt a pang of headache. Just clicking the confirm button had numbed his fingers. It seemed no one in the game, Galactic Era, had ever purchased 80 Tier 10 dockyards at once, so such an option simply didn't exist. Yet Lu Feng couldn't contact the official customer service to request an overnight feature for bulk purchasing Tier 10 dockyards. Whether the game's developers were even human remained uncertain. Since he started playing, Lu Feng had never seen any activity from official accounts. The team behind Galactic Era seemed shrouded in mystery. Left with no choice, Lu Feng had to create new Tier 1 dockyards one by one and upgrade them individually. Your dockyard No. 2 has been upgraded to Tier 2. Your dockyard No. 2 has been upgraded to Tier 3. Your dockyard No. 2 has been upgraded to Tier 4. Your dockyard No. 2 has been upgraded to Tier 8. Your dockyard No. 2 has been upgraded to Tier 9. Your dockyard No. 2 has been upgraded to Tier 10. After spending nearly a million and several minutes, Dockyard No. 2 reached Tier 10. Once Dockyard No. 2 appeared beside Dockyard No. 1, another 20,000 of the million warships could be accommodated. The dockyard, 300 kilometers in diameter, was soon filled to capacity. Gazing at the warship formation that seemed barely diminished in the starfield, Lu Feng let out a long sigh. The road ahead was long and arduous. He turned to begin constructing and upgrading Dockyard No. 3. Your Dockyard No. 3 has been upgraded to Tier 2. Your Dockyard No. 3 has been upgraded to Tier. Your Dockyard No. 10 has been upgraded to Tier 10. Your Dockyard No. 20 has been upgraded to Tier 10. Your Dockyard No. 30 has been upgraded to Tier 10. Your Dockyard No. 40 has been upgraded to Tier 10. Your Dockyard No. 50 has been upgraded to Tier 10. Your Dockyard No. 60 has been upgraded to Tier 10. Your Dockyard No. 70 has been upgraded to Tier 10. Your Dockyard No. 80 has been upgraded to Tier 10. Lu Feng lost track of time, only remembering that he clicked until drowsy, eventually able to press the upgrade and confirm buttons with his eyes closed out of sheer familiarity. Finally, after all the clicking, he had built 80 dockyards. Oh no, that's not right. I need 2 more, 82 in total. Spotting the remaining 25,000 warships in the starfield, Lu Feng realized he had nearly missed building 2 dockyards. With practiced ease, he finished the last 2 dockyards in minutes. At last, every warship had a home. Not a single vessel drifted aimlessly in the void. Of the 100 million star coins Lu Feng had topped up earlier, only a little over 10 million remained. Plus, there were still 2.9 billion in his account. His disposable funds totaled over 2.91 billion. Lu Feng pondered how to allocate the remaining capital. First and foremost, the most critical item was the only Tier 10 warship he hadn't unlocked, the Silent Behemoth-class aircraft carrier. In the age of interstellar travel with technologies like shields and laser rays, why were carrier-based aircraft still necessary? Lu Feng had pondered this question long ago, but he later found the answer. Not all warships were equipped with omnidirectional shields. The existing shields were nullification-type shields. Against energy weapons like lasers and rays, this type of shield could output energy at the same power level to neutralize damage to the warship's hull. This shield functioned like a field once it detected incoming external energy touching the field. The shield generator inside the warship would output energy at the same magnitude as the incoming threat. This explained why warships in Galactic Era grew larger and larger. Greater volume allowed for more shield generators to be installed and linked. Thus, in many battles between 2 warships, the outcome hinged on which side had greater energy output. If one side's attack energy output exceeded the other's defense energy output, it could naturally break through the opponent's shield and easily penetrate the warship's hull. If one side's defense energy output consistently surpassed the other's attack energy output, then no matter how the opponent attacked, they couldn't breach the shield's defense, rendering the defender invincible. When both sides had similar energy output, leading to a stalemate, the introduction of a third force could easily tip the balance. The kinetic weapons mounted on carrier-based aircraft represented this third force. Once launched, kinetic weapons were difficult to intercept without physical defenses, unless the escort warship's rapid-fire laser cannons could directly hit the projectiles. Thus, the electromagnetic cannons and concussion bombs on carrier-based aircraft could easily bypass the shield's field and approach enemy warships. Ultimately, this could change the course of battle. However, for carrier-based aircraft to launch weapons at close range, the aircraft carriers needed to approach enemy warships beforehand. Otherwise, on interstellar battlefields spanning thousands or tens of thousands of kilometers, the operational range of carrier-based aircraft was far too vast. Achieving this required coordination with other warships. Lu Feng believed that the fleet configuration of the Star Fleet already embodied this philosophy. The arrangement was quite reasonable. Unfortunately, in the face of his million-strong fleet, the combat capabilities of the fleet formation were swept away before they could even be deployed. In the presence of absolute power, even the most sound tactics were mere tricks. The blueprints for the Silent Behemoth-class aircraft carrier didn't drop in the latent sector or the Labarco junkyard. Lu Feng checked his purchase order on the player exchange again. He had offered 2 million star coins for the Silent Behemoth-class aircraft carrier blueprints, yet no one had responded. He wondered if this item was truly rare or if the price wasn't enough. So far, Lu Feng had only seen the Silent Behemoth-class aircraft carrier in the Star Fleet. Looks like I need to grind more and hope to get the blueprints sooner. With over 20 days remaining, his luck couldn't be so bad as to fail to obtain a single blueprint. And just as Lu Feng was pondering where to farm blueprints, a message popped up. It was from Su Jinxiang. Boss, are you still buying finished warships? Su Jianqiang's words caught Lu Feng off guard, making him think that his bulk purchase of warships had given others the impression he had a massive shortage. But Su Jianqiang's next words quickly changed his mind. I have a friend with a very special warship. His family is in financial trouble, and he needs money urgently, so he wants to sell it. But he hasn't found the right buyer. As he spoke, Su Jinxiang sent an in-game screenshot. It was a small warship with a design entirely different from the current Tier I to X vessels. The warships currently sold in the game store boasted a sleek, futuristic style, integrated hulls, and streamlined forms reminiscent of modern skyscrapers. This small warship, however, was a stark contrast, featuring angular armor, external turrets, weapons, and observation towers. Compared to modern skyscrapers, it was a medieval Gothic fortress. This piqued Lu Feng's interest, and he quickly replied, "What's so special about this ship? Have you heard of that guy who fell into a black hole a few years ago and survived?" Lu Feng caught on immediately. You mean this is the warship he brought back from the black hole? The one with the ability to cloak an entire area? That's right, boss, you've heard the story too. Lu Feng thought to himself, what a coincidence. He was very intrigued by this. In the game, this warship was merely unique, possessing a 1-vacant area cloaking ability. But if that ability were applied to reality, the implications were unimaginable. Moreover, he had witnessed the power of this special warship firsthand. The descendants hiding within humanity were plotting an internal and external assault to conquer Earth. One of their two greatest weapons was this very warship. It led an elite fleet of an alien coalition, bypassing all monitoring systems in the solar system, and appeared directly over the skies of human nations. It became one of the final two straws that broke humanity's back. Unfortunately, Lu Feng hadn't seen what this warship looked like back then, so he couldn't recognize it at first. Thinking this, Lu Feng became cautious and asked casually, "Has this warship been with its finder all the..." At this, Su Jinxiang began to hesitate. Well, because he's asking for a high price. And in the game, this ship doesn't really boost combat power much, so it's never sold. When the topic of price came up, Lu Feng couldn't help but smile. How much does he want? 1 million. I've tried to talk him out of it. Setting it that high for just a cloaking small warship, no one would buy it. But his family is in trouble, and he's hoping to make a big score from this. He's a bit obsessed. Su Jinxiang sighed as he spoke. Lu Feng understood now. It seemed that the future member of the descendants was the friend Su Jinxiang was talking about. Those who become descendants often have extraordinary experiences that ordinary people lack. Alright, I'll take it. Lu Feng didn't hesitate for a second and immediately accepted the deal. 1 million wasn't that much. Lu Feng thought the deal was a bargain. Buying a warship that could not be detected, an almost absolute cloaking device for just 1 million. What was that? Boss, I was just asking, I didn't expect much. This time it was Su Jianqiang's turn to be stunned. Although he knew this boss, the owner of the Reverse Blade Fleet, the absolute victor of the Labarco scrapyard battle, the #1 player in the Age of Galaxy, was incredibly wealthy. He never expected that for a practically useless warship 1 million would be spent in the blink of an eye. He had originally planned to advise Lu Feng not to be a fool. After all, he had only reluctantly agreed to ask, because he couldn't refuse his friend's pleas. Thinking about it, Su Jinxiang regretted letting it slip to this friend that he knew the mysterious owner of the much-talked-about Reverse Blade Fleet. If he hadn't let it slip, this friend would never have come to him begging for help to sell the warship. Well, maybe you should think it over. That's 1 million. But after sending the advice, Su Jinxiang realized he was judging a wealthy man by his own standards. In his mind, 1 million was a lot, enough to buy 2 houses in a small town. No matter how rich someone was, they wouldn't treat 1 million like nothing. But perhaps in the eyes of the truly wealthy, this 1 million was no different from $100. The man on the other end had spent billions on warships. Having spent billions, what was 1 million more? Alright, I'll tell him to list it on the player exchange. Boss, you can go check it out. Su Jinxiang said no more and turned to contact his friend. Lu Feng didn't have to wait long. Soon on the player exchange, he spotted a peculiar warship listed for 1 million star coins. Without a moment's hesitation, Lu Feng clicked to buy. Almost the instant the strange warship was listed, Lu Feng completed the purchase. Though it was unlikely anyone would compete with him, he needed to be quick to avoid any unexpected mishaps. A small warship whose design clashed with all the others around it appeared in his dock. It was named Shadow of the Void. Unlike other warships, its name could not be changed by its owner. As a special warship, it had a fixed designation from the very beginning. Shadow of the Void. The name suits its nature. Lu Feng was very satisfied with this warship, growing fonder of it the more he looked. He even tested its performance. Selecting the Shadow of the Void, the control interface changed entirely from that of other warships. It featured a special glowing blue option. Activate invisibility field. Lu Feng tentatively activated the option for the invisibility field. Instantly, the Void Shadow entered a translucent state enveloped in a blue glow. The blue radiance outlined the Void Shadow's silhouette and expanded outward, forming a spherical domain centered around the Void Shadow. This spherical domain was the Void Shadow's invisibility field. Everything within the field would enter the same undetectable state as the Void Shadow. Lu Feng made a rough estimate. Compared to the 10-kilometer-long immaculate Nebula-class cruiser, the radius of this sphere also reached 10 kilometers. It was just enough to accommodate an immaculate Nebula-class cruiser. The range actually reached 10 kilometers. This exceeded Lu Feng's expectations. On a cosmic scale, 10 kilometers was not much, but Lu Feng was more than satisfied. He had initially thought the Void Shadow's invisibility field could at most fit a ship like the dreadnought Orca-class destroyer. He never expected it could accommodate a behemoth like the immaculate Nebula-class cruiser. To be clear, while the immaculate Nebula-class cruiser was only 10 times the length of the dreadnought Orca-class destroyer, its actual volume was several times greater. One immaculate Nebula-class cruiser had a volume equivalent to 100 dreadnought Orca-class destroyers. Lu Feng then tested how many ships the Void Shadow could stow after activating the invisibility field. He promptly maneuvered the vessels as if cramming into a subway car within the small spherical field, leaving only tiny gaps between ships. The ships entering the invisibility field were also wrapped in translucent blue light, appearing as mere blue outlines in Lu Feng's vision. Of course, to enemy units, they were completely invisible. One after another ships entered the invisibility. The test began with the immaculate Nebula-class cruiser, then the wandering Cathedral-class battlecruiser, and finally the dreadnought Orca-class destroyer. The final test showed that the Void Shadow's invisibility field could accommodate 20 immaculate Nebula-class cruisers, or 200 wandering Cathedral-class battlecruisers, or 2,000 dreadnought Orca-class destroyers. The tiny Void Shadow was packed with ships far larger than itself. The amusing sight made Lu Feng burst into laughter. He could already envision the scene where the Void Shadow emerged behind enemy lines, followed instantly by an entire fleet. That million was well spent. After taking some time to calm down, Lu Feng began pondering an idea. Special ships like the Void Shadow, though rare, were not unique. He could purchase them directly from their owners, just as he had today. After all, he still had nearly 3 billion left. He refused to believe any special ship could cost more than 3 billion. As long as he offered a high enough price, there was no ship he couldn't buy. Determined to act, Lu Feng first searched online for cases similar to the Void Shadow. Using keywords like galactic era and hidden, he searched the internet and found quite a few examples. However, not all of them involved ships as hidden rewards. Some had obtained blueprints or rare materials. After a thorough search and screening, Lu Feng finally identified only 3 instances in recent years where special ships were given as hidden rewards. One of them was the Void Shadow itself. Among the 3, the Void Shadow was the most widely known. This was solely due to its former owner's incredible luck, entering a black hole and emerging, then discovering an ancient civilization's ruins and an ancient special warship. Before that, no player had ever managed to enter a black hole. The remaining 2 cases were far less famous than the Void Shadow, but they were also special ships. Lu Feng decided to do whatever it took to acquire those 2 vessels. However, how could he contact their owners? The challenge before Lu Feng troubled him slightly. Post a buy request on the player trading market. Shout, such methods felt inefficient. What if those players hadn't played Galactic Era for a long time and never saw the message? Yet he had no better alternative. Just as he was racking his brain, Lu Feng suddenly recalled an old player from whom he had first learned about the Void Shadow, Su Jianxiang. Having played the game for so many years, Su Jianxiang's network was undoubtedly broader than Lu Feng's. So Lu Feng contacted him again, briefly explained the matter, and expressed his intention to purchase the special ships. Finally, Lu Feng emphasized that he would give Su Jianxiang a commission as the middleman once the deal was done. Though Su Jianxiang repeatedly declined, Lu Feng didn't reply further, clearly ignoring his protests. Thinking about this, Su Jianxiang couldn't help but smile wryly. This guy was utterly reckless with money. But then on second thought, Lu Feng had indeed come to the right person. Su Jianxiang's deep knowledge of the game was among the best in the entire Galactic Era community. Having spent so many years grinding in Galactic Era, he knew almost every moderately famous player. Coincidentally, the owners of those two special ships were acquaintances of his. Since Boss Lu has come to me, I must make this happen. Su Jinxiang recalled the 50th Azanduan information fee Lu Feng had sent him last time. He didn't treat Lu Feng as a cash cow just because of his generosity. Instead, he felt he must not betray Lu Feng's trust. He'll help Boss Lu negotiate the lowest price possible. Perhaps he was just an insignificant nobody, but even someone like him could play a role in unexpected places. A fierce determination burned in Su Jianqiang's eyes. After entrusting the matter to Su Jinxiang, Lu Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Having someone handle tasks for him was quite nice. This way he didn't have to divert his attention to track down the two special ship owners. Lu Feng turned his focus back to his main path. He still needed to continuously improve his strength. For this, he could not slack off for a single moment during the next 20+ days. For now, he planned to go to one place. Within Galactic Era, hidden rewards, like the Void Shadow, were not only a small portion had been discovered by players. To date, there were only a little over a dozen cases, and only 3 involved special ships. But that didn't mean there were no more hidden reward trigger points in Galactic Era. He currently possessed a location that would very likely trigger a hidden reward. The 3 audio clips dropped by the 3 named level 10 beasts originated from a set of coordinates. Those coordinates were located at the very edge of the explorable map, an empty, desolate region where stars and planets were extremely rare. What could exist in such a place? Lu Feng was curious. He had not dared to barge in recklessly before fearing the unforeseen. But now he commanded a fleet vast enough to fill an entire planetary system when lined up along with a special warship capable of entering an invisible state. With a fleet of this magnitude, he possessed ample strength to probe the depths of that place. After selecting all the ships docked in the shipyards, Lu Feng initiated the jump. Having deciphered the coordinates from that eerie audio earlier, he found them uncomplicated. Lu Feng entered the coordinates, and with a ripple of hyperspace, the colossal fleet vanished from the shipyard side. Lu Feng's game perspective shifted to a starfield shrouded in darkness and silence. Unlike other brilliant starfields, the stars here were faint and sparse. Even his vision was somewhat impaired. Such an environment forced Lu Feng to stay on high alert, growing cautious. Fortunately, interstellar navigation did not rely on sight. On his map, this region was labeled the Lost Edge. The Lost Edge, an intriguing name. Lu Feng glanced at the star chart. The nearest celestial body was a lone star floating in the void. Within dozens of light years, there was not a single planet or planetary system besides this star. After a moment's deliberation, Lu Feng decided to send the fleet toward this star for reconnaissance. However, not the entire fleet would go. First, his current number of warships was overwhelmingly massive, making it cumbersome to maneuver them all together. Second, he wanted to avoid potential risks. Thus, Lu Feng selected 2,000 fearless Orca-class destroyers and the Shadow of the Void, activating its invisibility field. A blue light radiated outward, cloaking the 2,000 fearless Orca-class destroyers and the Shadow of the Void in stealth. Only then did Lu Feng relax, guiding this small fleet slowly toward the star. As Lu Feng drew nearer to the star, a massive celestial body, predominantly orange-yellow but erupting with ghostly blue flames, grew increasingly prominent in his view. From his game screen, the ethereal blue flames gently undulated across the star's surface, one end emerging from the star and the other reconnecting to it. They resembled several long ribbons drifting across the star's surface. Lu Feng had seen something similar on the sun, the solar wind, a high-speed particle stream akin to ribbons. Yet the solar wind paled in comparison to the grandeur and magnificence of this star's ribbon flames. The azure ribbon flames spanned half the planet's distance, flowing slowly and gracefully. Against the orange-yellow backdrop, it felt both bizarre and strangely harmonious. The fusion of blue and yellow cast light and heat into the surrounding dark void. This anomaly piqued Lu Feng's curiosity about the star. Blue stars and orange-yellow stars existed in the universe, but a star bearing both colors simultaneously was something Lu Feng had never witnessed. Trusting the Shadow of the Void's stealth capabilities, he maneuvered the fleet closer for a detailed observation. As the Shadow of the Void neared the ribbon flames, Lu Feng faintly caught a trace of eerie audio. Like the complete 3-unknown audio, the high-pitched hum echoed through the empty, silent cosmos, resembling the call of a whale in the deep sea. A sense of panic and inaccessibility surged involuntarily from Lu Feng's heart. Yet he quickly suppressed it with reason. This star was abnormal. Lu Feng heightened his vigilance to the maximum, while scrutinizing every detail of the star, hoping to find clues to decipher its nature. On the blue and yellow star's surface, ribbon-like flames drifted slowly. After staring for a while, Lu Feng noticed that the flames seemed to pulse in rhythm with the star's regular expansion. This discovery sparked an incredible thought in Lu Feng's mind. This star was alive. Watching the nearby blue and yellow star, he felt the eerie calls from his phone growing louder. The originally steady prolonged call became shorter, as if some creature was awakening from slumber. Lu Feng then noticed an irregularly shaped meteorite drifting nearby. One side of the meteorite was smoothly curved while the other was rugged and uneven. It resembled a fragment of a shattered planet. Captured by the blue-and-yellow star's gravity, the fragment drew closer. As the fragment approached, the eerie calls grew more active. Lu Feng could now confirm that the calls originated from within the star. He fixed his eyes on the screen, watching to see what would happen when the fragment reached the star. Soon the fragment drifted near the star as expected, but the next instant a massive crack split open on the star's surface. The crack, like a giant maw, swallowed the entire fragment. As the maw closed, a piercing cry rang through the silent cosmos, penetrating eardrums and reaching the soul. Satisfied after a meal hop, Lu Feng twitched the corner of his mouth. In that brief moment, he had understood. This star was not a celestial body at all, but a colossal creature. Perhaps it was the mother of those 3 special level 10 beasts. At this thought, an audacious idea sprang into Lu Feng's mind. The scarcity of planets and stars here, aside from being at the map's edge. Maybe this creature had devoured all the other planets. Lu Feng turned his screen's perspective to take in the creature's full form. The 2,000 fearless Orca-class destroyers accompanying the shadow of the void were mere specks before it. He roughly estimated its diameter to be tens of millions of kilometers, about 10 times that of the sun. What kind of hidden reward was this? Was he supposed to kill it? Lu Feng pondered. Since the coordinates from that audio had led him to this behemoth, it surely wouldn't leave him empty-handed. Perhaps the hidden reward required him to slay this colossal giant. After all, his fleet indeed had the capability to achieve this goal. As he thought, Lu Feng began maneuvering the vast fleet, still observing from a distance. He needed to arrange a formation so that every ship could directly face this behemoth, then launch a single, overwhelming saturation strike. Good thing I brought the fleet bought for 3 billion, otherwise the initial 20,000 level 10 warships wouldn't even be a snack for this giant. At this moment, Lu Feng was immensely grateful he hadn't acted rashly. He had the shadow of the void lead the 2,000 fearless Orca-class destroyers silently retreating from the behemoth's vicinity. After considerable effort, he spread over 1 million warships into a sphere at a distance, then had the sphere contract steadily around the behemoth. Once within a certain range, a prompt appeared on Lu Feng's game interface. You have awakened the ancient beast Hela. The moment he saw the message, Lu Feng's heart skipped a beat. Yet his mind remained icily calm as his fingers pressed the concentrated fire key. 500,000 wandering cathedral-class battlecruisers simultaneously activated their colossal planetary cannons at the forefront, unleashing thick beams of light from all of them at once. Preceding the planetary cannons were various railguns, laser cannons, and ray arrays, their blazing streams of light converging from nearly every angle onto the massive orange-yellow sphere suspended at the center. The instant the weapons volleyed, the radiance they produced far surpassed the brilliance of the great sphere itself. It was as if an even more intense stellar explosion had erupted here. Such power was enough to annihilate a true star of equal size, to plow a planet 1,000 times over. Even this behemoth before them would be no exception. Lu Feng was exceedingly confident, but it was only then that he noticed another message beneath the prompt. You have awakened the ancient beast Helacasis. You can now hire the ancient beast Helacasis for 1 million star coins per use. Damn. Wait, cease fire. Cease fire. Lu Feng finally realized this creature was not meant to be slain, but hired. It was in itself a hidden reward. But the endless lasers and rays had already hammered into the ancient beast Helacasis. It let out an even more harrowing roar, its eerie cries echoing through the cosmos, as its colossal body began to disintegrate. Now it was Lu Feng's turn to freeze. Could it really die just like that? Perhaps the designers of Galactic Era never imagined anyone would spend 3 billion to build a fleet and actually kill the ancient beast Helacasis. Thinking this, Lu Feng felt even more vexed. He had fallen into a cognitive trap. As the orange-yellow sphere crumbled into fragments, and the azure ribbon-like flames scattered across the void, looking as if it could not survive, an invisible ripple emanated from within the colossal beast Helacasis. Wherever the ripple touched, everything seemed to freeze. Even Lu Feng's game screen froze in that moment, completely unresponsive. But this state lasted only briefly. The next moment, everything returned to normal. Lu Feng turned his gaze to the ancient beast Helacasis at the scene, only to see an intact, uncrumbled orange-yellow sphere quietly floating there, with several azure flames swirling around it like ribbons. New prompts appeared in the message log. He quickly looked at the system notifications. You have slain the ancient beast Helacasis. The ancient beast Helacasis has reversed its own time. You can now purchase the ancient beast Helacasis for 1 billion star coins. The moment he saw this message, Lu Feng felt as if his heart had missed a beat. Then came overwhelming joy. He clicked to purchase without a moment's hesitation. Even without considering anything else, the ability to reverse time alone was worth that billion. As his bank account was debited 1 billion, Lu Feng received a prompt, "You can now command the ancient beast Halaksis." Seeing a new special unit in his operable list, he quickly clicked to inspect it. Stellar Beast, Ancient Beast Halaksis. Stellar Beast is its race, Ancient Beast is its honorific, and Halaksis is its name. Stellar Beast. When he saw that name, Lu Feng paused. He had heard of the Stellar Beast before. This legend had come from the alien coalition that invaded Earth. Legend spoke of 3 great aberrant beasts in the universe living in the starry void, their bodies unimaginably vast, feeding on planetary matter, each possessing unique and bizarre abilities. The Stellar Beast was the rarest and most supreme of these 3. It was said that 7,000 years ago a stellar beast was discovered near the galactic core of the Milky Way. That stellar beast voraciously devoured the stars at the galactic core, drawing the attention of a level 5 civilization, which immediately dispatched a star fleet to eliminate it. But not a single ship from that fleet returned to its civilization. Worse still, it attracted the stellar beast's attention. The stellar beast transformed into a superstar and came to that civilization's homeworld, engulfing the entire planetary system. With the homeworld lost, the remaining territories could not escape either. One by one, planetary systems were devoured by the stellar beast, becoming nourishment for its growth. By the time a higher level 6 civilization discovered this, the level 5 civilization was already all but destroyed, with few survivors left. And that stellar beast was extremely cunning. It did not confront the level 6 civilization heathen, but hid itself in the endless deep void, eventually vanishing without a trace. From then on, that level 6 civilization issued a galaxy-wide broadcast. Anyone who found traces of a stellar beast must broadcast it across the galaxy immediately. Thus the name of the stellar beast spread far and wide. And now in his own hands he possessed the stellar beast. Moreover, in 20 days could it also descend into reality alongside him. At this thought, Lu Feng's gaze toward Halaksis grew increasingly different. From certain special perspectives, this single stellar beast was worth more than his entire fleet. Halaksis' control interface had, besides basic functions, 2 forms to switch between stellar form and beast. Lu Feng knew the stellar form. Currently Halaksis was in that state. But the beast form intrigued him. In stellar form, its volume reached tens of millions of kilometers. Could the beast form also be that immense? He pressed the button for beast form. In the game screen, the massive orange-yellow star began to flow like molten metal. At times it became a pitch-black, hideous tentacled beast, at others a burly humanoid monster, or a dragon-like creature with 12 wings and 9 heads. It seemed to have no fixed beast form, or perhaps it could assume any beast form. Those beasts, each with wingspans reaching tens of millions of kilometers, blotted out the sky and covered the sun. Even if you placed the sun before them, it would be but a tiny fireball they toyed with in their hands. Seeing this, the smile on Lu Feng's lips could no longer be concealed. The anticipation in his heart grew even heavier. Glancing at the sky outside the hotel, it was already very late, so he first commanded the fleet to return to the dock. As for Halaksis being too conspicuous, it had to be left here for now. In the blink of an eye, the dense fleet encircling Halaksis all entered hyperspace and vanished. And Halaksis itself transformed back into that colossal stellar appearance, quietly suspended in the cosmos, radiating its own light and heat. Having done all this, Lu Feng turned off his phone and took a hot shower. Afterward, wrapped in a bathrobe, he stood before the hotel's large floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the dazzling urban nightscape outside. He had received 6 billion, but within a day he had already spent 4 billion. The money had barely warmed his hands. Later, when he obtained the blueprints for the Silent Behemoth-class aircraft carrier, he would need to spend another billion on the carrier. The final billion would be used to replenish some supporting engineering warships. After all, having only combat ships without logistical support would not do. Calculating it, the last 2 billion left little room for anything else. But Lu Feng was not worried. With his current fleet strength, it was more than enough to satisfy him. A full 1,600,000 powerful warships, if fully deployed, could cover more than a solar system. And there were the unexpected treasures, the Void Shadow and the stellar beast Halaksis. With this strength, he had the confidence to challenge not only the alien coalition that invaded the solar system, but even the level 6 civilizations that stood at the pinnacle of the Milky Way.